afternoon. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and I am your host on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 1 to 4 p.m. Listen, can I just tell you that at 12:54, my mainframe computer crashed. Thank God for my husband. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 screens in front of me, so I was able to move over to another computer to start my conversations, and I will be able to move back to the mainframe by 1:30 for Natasha Brown. But I wanted to get started on time today because the first person we have up for an interview is someone we have been waiting for a long time. I reached out to her people. They responded. They were kind. We talked about it, and so we're going to have her on soon. But this entire show is filled with Black excellence, Black women who have taken the charge in their communities, in the country, in the nation, and have done amazing work. And so I'm super duper stoked. Because we're running a little bit late on time, and because she has a hard stop at 1:20, I am going to talk about Cody Anderson before the 1:30 break, just so we can have a good conversation about him, because like many of you, I was stunned to hear of his passing this past weekend, and he meant so much to WURD. I will read the statement from Sarah Lomax-Reese, the CEO of WURD Radio, and I'll share my own personal work with him. But good afternoon, Michael. Good afternoon, all of you. I can see you. So I'm just going to move right into the interview and hope that my computer behaves itself. Looks like it's doing it right now. One can only hope, right? Let me see. No, it's still loading. It's still loading up. So let me just go ahead and I'm going to open this up and tell you about who is on the show today. Super excited. Super excited. Come on, let's go. Lineup for today. Here we go. Open up. The Philadelphia Police Commissioner, Daniel M. Outlaw, is an experienced and respected law enforcement leader. She stands at the helm of the nation's 4th largest police department, which employs more than 6,500 sworn officers and 800 civilians who work to help Philadelphia a safer city. Commissioner Outlaw is the first African-American woman to lead the Philadelphia Police Department. I'm not going to get into much more detail because I really want to get her on and to talk to her. And so good afternoon, Commissioner Outlaw. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm well. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you so much. I knew we did some working across the board to make sure that we could get you on. I wanted to literally shut down some of the conversation that I had been hearing on WURD radio that you didn't want to talk to your people. And I was like, no, that's not true. When she first came to Philadelphia, I interviewed you. Remember that, Commissioner Outlaw?
I do.
Yes. And we had a good conversation. And quite frankly, through no fault of your own, COVID struck. Then we had a pandemic in our city, moving through that. Then we had uprisings, and so much has happened. So I have a bunch of questions for you that I'd like for you to share with the listening audience. So the first question I have was, since you have been in Philadelphia, so much has been on your plate. You inherited a city that was already violent, and then we added a pandemic and an unrest to the mix. What would you want the citizens to know to help alleviate their concerns in the short term?
Thank you for that. I think in the short term, whether we're talking about violent crime, homicides, non-fatal shootings, unrest, the pandemic that has not gone away and has not been canceled, I want folks to know that there's a plan. There's a plan. And a lot of this, especially when we're talking about COVID, right? For example, we had to build the ship as we were flying it. Because unless anybody that's been around, 100 years ago and they were sitting in these seats are around today, we really didn't have anything to refer to, anybody with lived experience. But I think we're in a good place now with how we are learning how to better engage, learning how the pandemic has exacerbated a lot of the social inequities that we've seen and how that's contributed to crime. And then also, it's no secret out there that during the unrest during the summer that we came out the gate kind of slow. And and we almost immediately implemented changes from lessons learned. So there's definitely a plan. Obviously, we don't know everything, but we obviously learned a lot in 2020 that's informing how we move in 2021.
Okay, so in the short term, what does that look like for us in the city? And and how can we support you in that plan, the short term
Sure.
plan?
So, I mean, pick one. You want to let's talk about crime, for example.
Okay. Mhm.
So in the short term, one of the first things that we did, we had to put together an operating model of what to
Mhm.
do, right? What's our plan?
Mhm.
I released that back in, I think, June of
Mhm.
2020, to where we have several goals. There's a 37-page document that went out, but specifically as it relates to crime, there's 7 goals. And one was to create an operating model, which I just talked about. Others have to relate to improving our clearance rates along our homicides and our non-fatal shootings. Another one is expanding our areas of focus, or what we call pinpoint areas within the larger plan. So we are using data to focus on smaller parts of the districts that we know are driving citywide crime. We did that.
Right.
And then also making sure that as we identify those who are most at risk of either being, as we're talking about violent crime, right? Those
Yes.
who are most at risk of being a shooter or being shot, that we are connecting with our local, state, and federal partners to intervene in the best way possible, whether that's through enhanced, potential consequences, right, with jail exposure, or even through services. This might be a one-off. This person might not be involved in long-term crime or groups or gangs. Maybe they just need a job. Maybe they need housing, and then we have a system in place now to refer those folks to the Office of Violence Prevention. As it relates to the pandemic, again, we were really rolling out policies from jump. We had to reassess everything that we did from top to bottom, because in our profession, generally we interact with people. That's what we do. We go into people's homes. We make contact with them physically. The courts closed. We had to adapt to that. We had to put out policy to amend the types of crimes that we would make an immediate arrest for, meaning that we would take them into physical custody and take them to jail, as opposed to issuing a warrant later on and going back and finding them. We had to implement protocols just with how we interacted with people. So we put people, whether, community members at risk or our rank and file, our employees at risk. Unfortunately, we've lost 5 people to COVID.
In the department?
In the department. We've lost 5 people to COVID. And, it's no secret also that when I first got here, within the first month, we had Corporal O'Connor, who was murdered. And so in my short time here, I've done 6 line-of-duty death funerals, right? So, and we've had to adapt even with how we did that, with how we grieve and how we mourn. So then there's that. And then as it relates to the unrest, 2020 taught us nothing else. It was that we cannot solely rely upon open source information. What does that mean? That means a lot of our deployment decisions, how many officers we have assigned to something, had been off of how these events had gone off in the past, or if there was anything out there on the internet, social media, or just open source data that would indicate that something is either going to go sideways, or there's groups with intentions to distract or do anything. And we now know that we have to plan and contingency plan beyond contingency plan, regardless if there's information out there indicating that something is going to go sideways. And that's what happened over the summer. There's nothing historically that told us, well, there may be some looting or violent acts or violent acts against police. None of that. And so initially, for one of the first protests, we were low-key, and we didn't have a lot of officers out there assigned to what could happen after the fact, and that's where we found ourselves in some trouble. So since then, we know moving forward that we have to plan for just what if, what if there are factors that may come, or there's something that extends beyond the advertised event that we know of. So again, I think we've done well with adapting and changing and looking at themes and patterns for 2020. The pandemic really shone a light, again, like I said, on some structural inequities. But we also know with a lot of the crime that we saw, violent crime that we saw in 2020, there was a huge nexus between domestic violence. And so we're focusing a lot of our efforts on domestic violence prevention and awareness, and then also making sure that we prioritize these cases when they come in so they don't lead to more serious cases. We also knew that there was a narcotics nexus between a lot of our shootings and homicides, so we've bolstered our narcotics bureau to ensure that we have more boots on the ground, specifically in the East Division, because the narcotics open-air drug market is driving a lot of the citywide crime that we're seeing. We opened a police district in Kensington with a full chain of command, about a full contingent of officers out there, a police district, so that not only is there more visibility there, but there's more boots on ground, on foot, and also on bicycles, because that's driving a lot of what we've seen citywide. And then lastly, to be honest with you, a lot of these shootings and these homicides are also driven by social media beef. And, I've told folks, look, we can't be the social media police, but when we know that there are individuals or groups or gangs that are using social media to exacerbate a lot of this, tension, or I used to call it, funk out there on the street, we have to make sure that our analysts are on top of that, our detectives are on top of that, there's communication internally, and that we're pulling out every resource that we have to try to get ahead of this, because, it's driving a lot of what we see. And then also making sure that in 2021 we're intentional. I'm telling folks, 2020 was a bear. It really was. It was a bear. But making sure that we're moving forward, I am moving forward in 2021 with renewed purpose and intention, and ensuring that we're engaging folks, including myself, in non-traditional ways. Hopefully this pandemic goes away soon. But all of the events, the community events that used to exist, just didn't exist in 2020. So how do we engage in different ways? How do we utilize technology? And quite frankly, how are we reaching our young people that know this stuff is about to happen before we even do, right? So doing better with being intentional, with giving our young people a seat at the table, listening and putting them in an advisory capacity. So we are working in partnership and hand in hand to ensure that we have a plan, and so that the community knows that we're not just flying by the seats of our pants.
Okay, you answered just about every question I had that was good. Now let me ask you this last question. It's going to be two parts, right? The murders are frightening for many. You addressed that, right? And I know you're not a panacea for all, but can you tell us you told us what you're doing to create safer spaces. You did that. Now tell us, what can we do to help you? And then, as a leader at the highest position of this department, how are you navigating these tests that are continually coming your way?
I'm chuckling at that last one because I've had to do this, not just in this role, but my entire career. But to answer your first question, I think there's a lot that the community can do, and obviously we have some, a part in this as well. I've done community meeting after community meeting, and when I've asked, or when the question has been asked, what does public safety mean to you, right? It's not just feeling safe going to and from or being able to go outside. It's also knowing that they feel respected by their police department, right? To me, that's low-hanging fruit. How we treat people, how we speak to people, getting to know our folks in our communities within our districts, so that in turn, when I make the ask of the community to come forward as witnesses, you know and can trust that not only when you do come forward as a witness, because that's a problem, we need more witnesses to come forward, that they can trust that their safety, we can assure their safety in doing that. And then also holding ourselves accountable as community, right? Folks say what they want to say about gun buybacks, but what it does is allows another venue, no questions asked, for some of these guns to get off the street. We took a record number of guns off the street last year. Our pedestrian stops are down, our vehicle stops are down, but we're still making gun arrests. There are so many guns out there. And a lot of these grandmothers, our moms, community members, they know when their nieces and nephews, and I say nieces intentionally because our young women are involved in this too, they know when there's guns being stashed in dresser drawers, under couches, behind refrigerators. They know when their young people or people that they're involved with are engaged in a lot of this crime. Folks say, well, a white person gets shot and killed. Look how quickly the police were able to solve that. You know why we were able to solve that? It was because people came forward. And quite frankly, I think we need to do better with holding ourselves accountable. We do, but we got to do better. And I say we, as a community, we have to do better when we know what's going on in our communities. We know who's responsible for these crimes and sharing this information with us. We've been lucky in a lot of instances in that we've been able to solve crimes because there's technology out there. There's surveillance cameras. But what happens when there's no cameras present? There's no videos present. So we got to do what we can, again, to let folks know that, yes, you can trust us. You can support us publicly, but hold us accountable, at the same time. It's not you can do both. You can absolutely do both. But we also need folks to trust us, in a mutual relationship, come forward as witnesses, and then also continue to be. There's so many folks out there in the community with their feet on the ground, doing the grassroots community outreach and connecting with these folks with lived experience. The credible messengers are saying, look, y'all need to stop this. And they're doing it. We need more people like that to do that, and they need the resources that they need to continue on doing what they're doing.
Right. Okay. So now, how are you handling the? First of all, this was a great interview. I want to thank you. I want to thank you for trusting me with it because you knew I was going to ask you these questions, right? You knew it was not going to be, fun and games, but you were ready for me. Here's the last thing now I want from you. How are you handling these tests? Because today, Madame, I am highlighting Black women from around the country. I chose all of you because I get it. I understand that when you are in these positions of authority, it is not pretty, and not everybody's going to like what you say and do. And there are landmines that you have to navigate over and again, sometimes even in your sleep, right? Yeah. So how do you manage the tests that are coming your way each and every day?
I'd like to say, I remain authentic, right? I only know how to be me. What you see is what you get, regardless of if I have on sweats and a hoodie or a uniform with my hair up in a bun or a ponytail or whatever it is, right? I move forward with intention. I move forward unapologetically. I don't lose sleep at night because when I make decisions, I do it to the best of my ability and not for personal gain. And I'm not going to always get it right. And I think the public has seen that when I don't get it right, I don't have any problem with coming out and saying, you know what, I didn't get that one right. Right? So also having to be able to show that we can be vulnerable at times and accepting that we make mistakes. But then also doing everything that we can to call out all of the things that we see when we see it as strong Black women. Folks will try to bully you. They try to bully me. They see that doesn't work. And the scrutiny. I mean, folks will look for every reason for you to fail or to make a mistake and then highlight that and say, see, I told you. We are often giving command, whether it's in the private sector or the public sector, we're giving commands of big tasks or responsibilities, organizations, agencies, departments, when things are at their when they hit rock bottom, when they're at their worst. And then if it's not successful, if we're not successful, then that's the opportunity for folks to say, see, I told you, this is why they couldn't do it. So, again, we have to move with intention, and I'm not going to be able to do this job alone. 2020 has shown us that. So, again, understanding and acknowledging that we can't do everything by ourselves. I thank everyone for their support and continuing just to work through and to withstand, not just tolerate, but to withstand and call people out, when they're doing what they're doing.
Daniel M. Outlaw, Philadelphia Police Commissioner, the first African-American woman to lead the Philadelphia Police Department. This interview was way more than I could have hoped for. I want to thank you, and I'd like to leave space open so that we can talk to you some more, as we have community leaders on this side who may be able to support you in the work that you're doing, so we can help to create a safer Philadelphia for all. Thank you so much. You have a good afternoon, okay?
Thank you, you too. It was great to speak with you again.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Bye-bye. You are listening to The Source. If that was the beginning, then, Lord, the rest of this show is going to be on fire. 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages. I am going to switch over with
What would you call a joy that is as solemn as as it is sweet and knows no bounds. A joy that's beautifully rooted in soul and resilience. This is Black joy, a joy that reflects pride and honor despite every challenge. AARP believes the power of Black joy is limitless, and through Black History Month and beyond, we celebrate this joy supreme. Join us in celebrating Black History Month at aarp.org/blackcommunity.
Okay, Her's new fire potato chips and cheese curls, they are spicy. Whew, they're hottest snacks yet, hold on. Whew, but you know, it's not just heat. There's some nice sweet and savory stuff going on too. Ooh, there's that heat again. It burns, but it burns so tasty. Ooh, that's hot. Find Her's Fire Snacks at your store today. Whew. Taste the flavor, feel the heat, break out the Hers.
WURD Radio celebrates Black History Month with Black Artist Story 365. Brought to you by Pico and JD's Auto Body.
Welcome to Black Artist Story 365. My name is Envy McKee. Get into this episode where we explore the art and artistry of the original OG, that's operatic gangster, and Philly home diva, Marian Anderson. Part 2. In 1928, she sang for the first time at Carnegie Hall. In the late 1930s, Anderson gave about 70 recitals a year in the United States. Although by then, she was bona fide famous. But that didn't keep racist white people from white peopling. She was still denied rooms in certain American hotels and was not allowed to eat in certain American restaurants. Because of this discrimination, Albert Einstein, yes, that Albert Einstein, who was a champion of racial tolerance, hosted Anderson at his home on many occasions. The first being in 1937, when she was denied a hotel before performing at Princeton University. Probably her most famous OOG moment happened in 1939, when professional white women, who called themselves daughters of the American Revolution, refused to allow the Queen Diva, Duchess Auntie, the Marian Anderson to sing to an integrated audience at their Constitution Hall. So what had happened was, with the aid of First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt and her husband, then the President, Franklin D. Roosevelt, the OOG, in case you forgot, that's the original operatic gangster, the Marian Anderson, performed a critically acclaimed open-air concert on Easter Sunday, April 9th, 1939, on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. She sang before a crowd of more than 75,000 people and a radio audience in the millions. So that's it for this episode of Black Artist Story 365. My name is Envy McKee. To hear more, tune into The Envy McKee Show, Friday nights, 7 to 10 p.m., right here on WURD.
Black Artist Story 365 is brought to you by Pico, powering communities, and JD's Auto Body and Painting for all your auto body and detailing needs.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you are just joining us, we had a good, and I mean it was 20 minutes, but it was a great 20-minute conversation with the Police Philadelphia Commissioner, Daniel Outlaw. And people are sending me text messages. Thank you all. Listen, I planned really well for this interview. When I wrote to her people, I was incredibly honest. I was so honest. I said to the woman that I wrote to, I may not get the interview after I tell you why I want to talk to her, how I want to talk to her, but they looked at what I wanted to do and they were like, fine, that's okay. And so this is what happens when you walk in transparency and openness, right? The same thing that she's talking about, authenticity and vulnerability. She spoke of, the fact that public safety, that she wants you all to feel respected and safe. She's been having these community meetings. She's asking you all, I asked her, what can the public do? She said you can come forth with witnesses that the white folks' murders get solved because folks show up to help solve the white murders, right? But she also recognizes that people don't usually, because of everything that's been going on, the police department is not always trusted. And so she's working on creating better relationships and revamping the whole plan. She said they laid back at the very beginning, and that cost them something. It was a mistake, and she faced it. said it was a mistake, said that there were things that needed to be done, and so now she's moving forward to get more work done on behalf of the citizenry. I asked her what, she talked about the murders. She talked about holding ourselves accountable. She talked about social media being a place where a lot of the beef start and causing an issue in our community. So here is my ask for you as a host on WURD Radio. We are fussing and complaining about what this commissioner is not doing. She came on, she talked about, she was incredibly transparent without my even having to ask her half of the questions that I had for her. She was incredibly transparent in telling us what needed to be done. So now here is my ask of you. Start calling out what you see in your community. Start becoming your community block captains, looking to see what is unusual. We do it on our block. I tell my husband, if a car looks like it doesn't belong there, go outside and take a picture of the license plate, just in case anything happened. We all have cameras at our homes, the camera ring doorbells. Check those when you see things that are unusual. Hand it over to the police department, right? Develop relationship with some of the officers in the departments that are in your community. So the 39th district, the 22nd district, whatever district you are in, find at least one police officer in there where you can develop authentic opportunities with them. And here's the other thing I want to ask you. You know who your community leaders are. You know who your community leaders are. So community leaders, if you know the people in your communities are listening to you and following what you tell them, then my ask of you is to go throughout your community and say, look, we've got to help to stop the crime here. How can we stop? Because you all know who it is. You know if it's Pookie and them. You know if it's your niece or nephew or auntie. We get up and we wail and we cry about funerals, but then nobody wants to call and talk about who the folks are that are actually committing the crimes. We know who they are a good percentage of the time. A good percentage of the time. So do we want this commissioner to fail, or do we want to help her? Right? And if you see that you're turning in folks and then things are not changing, then you come back to Marvel. Then you come back to WURD and say, look, I called into the police department, X amount of time went by and nothing happened. But I suspect if we turn around and meet them halfway, we can get some things done. There are always going to be people, when you are a black and brown leader, especially a woman, where we are challenged all the time by what we do. The simplest thing causes an issue. Oh, see, told you she couldn't do it. Oh, my God, why did they bring her here? I know it. I understand it. And that's why this entire show is about black women leaders. Now, Michael has been calling in to Latasha Brown. I am hoping that she'll be able to get on soon. If try her again for me, Michael. Let me tell people who she is in the meantime, because we did confirm with her people. At the intersection of social justice, political empowerment, human development, and the cultural arts, one will find Latasha Brown. As a catalyst for change, thought leader, and social strategist, her national and global efforts have been known to organize, inspire, and catapult people into action. Not just lip service, though, enabling them to build power and wealth for themselves and their community. Honored to serve the 2010 White House Champion of Change, honored to receive the 2010 White House Champion of Change Award, the 2006 Spirit of Democracy Award, and the Louis Burnham Award for Human Rights, it is more than evident that Latasha is passionate about leading social change for the purpose of advancing humanity, creating a more equitable redistribution of wealth and power around the globe. Where other leaders see nothing but poverty, despair, and destitution, this 2018 Bridge Jubilee Award and Liberty Bell Award recipient sees great opportunity. To her, there are more than enough resources on the planet to comfortably sustain every human being. Affectionately known by many as the Black Renaissance woman, her Southern roots, coupled with her global thoughts towards people, ideas, and money, have opened doors for her to maximize her voice in the United States, as well as over 30 countries abroad. In addition to being recognized as a well-respected leader in the South who has led numerous initiatives, campaigns, and special projects to empower marginalized communities, Latasha is leading several international efforts to provide training, support, and funding for women-led institutions based in Guyana, Senegal, Belize, and Tanzania. Having raised millions of dollars for a variety of causes throughout the U.S., she is most known for her philanthropic efforts as an effective fundraiser and resource person. From creating community-led funds to establishing donor networks, Latasha has raised millions of dollars to support justice causes, social justice causes, and created projects that bring more investments into marginalized communities. As the co-founder of the Black Voters Matter Fund and the Black Voters Matter Capacity Building Institute, Latasha is adamant about ensuring that all human beings have access to quality education, safety, security, peace, love, and happiness. Striving daily to hear the voices of women in leadership amplified and supported, she is also working to eliminate human suffering through her vision of the Southern Black Girls and Women's Consortium. Recognizing that her work is not rooted in strengthening political systems, governments, or institutions, but in the advancement of people, Latasha serves as an authoritative figure in the lives of thousands, if not millions. More than ever, she is crystal clear that she's called to remind people of the power they hold within, pushing them through the birthing process of vision to manifestation. I see Michael continues to try and reach her. Somebody find Brianna and see if Brianna can reach out to her people, because I want to talk to her, and I'm going to tell you why. Transforming culture through her singing and songwriting, this innovative storyteller is shifting the narrative of African Americans through media, campaigns, and nonprofit projects. Featured on CNN, HBO, MSNBC, and Fox, to name a few. Latasha also proudly serves as the founder of Saving Ourselves Coalition, a community-led disaster relief organization that helped hundreds of families in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. Currently, she serves on the board of the National Coalition of Black Civil Participation, the Southern Documentary Fund, the U.S. Human Rights Network, and the Congressional Progressive Caucus Center. After having worked with her clients, colleagues, and friends alike gain more clarity about her vision and life's work, connection to quality resources, and a deeper sense of their own humanity after having encountered the incomparable Latasha Brown. Latasha Brown has been on this radio station. She and I spoke. Brittany Smalls called me a couple of days before we had the general elections, and the woman that came on the air was on fire. I mean, on fire. Did not realize that her reach was so large until I started looking her up, and she really is on the level of looking at her face, Stacey Abrams. Of Stacey Abrams, right? She has done amazing work, and she's one of those Black women who she's continually poured out of herself into us as people, and we just want to make sure that we highlight her today. So I'm hoping that at some point she'll be able to call in. Let me text Brianna, and let her know. Brianna. All right. Well, hold. While I'm waiting, let me take Tyrone. Tyrone is on the phone. Let me take Tyrone quickly while we're waiting. Okay. Hi, Tyrone. How are you?
I am good, Mother. How are you?
I'm good. You liking Mother's lineup, man?
Hey, look, it's always awesome. But, Mother, I had to just call to say thank you. I mean, we keep talking about let's create jobs. Let's do this. How about us talk about let's get those who doing the shooting. Let's try to see that. Let's talk about them. Thank you, Mother. I mean, what? First of all, peace and blessings. Much love to myself, you all, the family. I mean, it just bothers me that much, Mother, that we want to talk about doing everything. You know, we want to save the world to stop the shooting, but we never say anything about the shooting. I mean, you know, we got things that's going on in our community that is just mind-boggling. And we got folks that, regardless of what's going on, they are still doing what they're doing that's tearing it apart.
Right.
And so, but Mother, first of all, I love you.
I love you too, Tyrone.
And thank God for Cody, you know.
Yes.
And I know a lot of the young folks listen to your program, and I just want to say this as it relates to Cody Anderson. You know, one thing about Brother Cody is he did not make excuses.
No.
This brother built and kept building. He was humble, and he's always had the folk in mind. And brothers and sisters, I'm going to tell you, I know this brother like he was not only a big brother, but like he was a father. When Committee for a Better North Philadelphia went to be a part of Unity Day, this brother made sure that our organization was there in a good place every year down on the Parkway. But the thing is, in terms of saying to young people, he didn't make excuses. He was humble. He loved what he did. And right now, my brothers and sisters, and I'm talking to young people right now, there's a lot of talk about your education that you are getting is not preparing you for anything.
Yes. So let me say this, Tyrone, and I got to take a quick break because we have to stay on target here. We continue to fuss about education. So one of the people that we're having on today, two of them, Susan L. Taylor, who is the emeritus in chief, editor in chief of Essence magazine, and who leads the National Cares Mentoring Movement, will be up at 2:00. And Donna Frisbee Greenwood, who leads the fund for the Philadelphia School District. I want to tell you, we're going to talk about what the solutions are, because when I tell you I'm tired of the bleating like goats every single day about what is wrong in our cities, and no one seems to want to talk about what is right. Let's start there. And then how can we support each other and move forward to make it a better place to live? Pointing fingers does nothing. It does absolutely nothing. So I'm going to need us to get ourselves together. So that's where I am with it, And so when I ask for these interviews and bring them, Tyrone, it's so that we can have those kinds of conversations. I'm tired of having the nothing is right. We can't fix nothing. Nothing going to happen. No, ma'am. No, sir. We are who we are looking for.
So, Mother, my point is that they got to deal with the hand that they're dealt with. So if this is what's there, you got to use it to the best, using who you are and what you do to be the best at it.
And this ain't no new condition for us, Tyrone. We've gone through 400 years of this. Can we come on?
I was reading at a third grade education in the 12th grade, and I made up my mind that I was going to do something about it. And I was an A, student pretty much through college, AB student pretty much through college, because I made up my mind that I was going to take care of what I was feeling at. So
Tyrone, I got to go, honey. I have a minute over, and they're shooting me.
You said that, and I'm sorry. I'm just telling them to be the best they can. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, honey. Love you. Talk to you soon, okay? All right.
Bye-bye.
You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM. We're still trying to reach Latasha Brown. I have another 10 minutes where I can talk to her. If not, we'll work it out another day. But you all heard me talk about who she is and what she's done. 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Looking for an exciting and well-paying new career opportunity? MCAP is a free manufacturing career accelerator program. In just 7 weeks, learn new career skills, earn industry certifications, and connect to manufacturing companies who are hiring. To see if MCAP is right for you, call 215-770-7101. That's 215-770-7101. MCAP is brought to you by Drexel University's Goodwin College of Professional Studies in partnership with EDSI Incorporated. MCAP is an equal opportunity program. Diverse candidates, including women and people of color, are strongly encouraged to apply.
Clark Roofing salutes Black History Month with over 30 years of quality roofing experience, providing exceptional customer service, honesty, and professionalism. For service, call 215-365-ROOF. That's 215-365-7663.
Want the latest in Word swag? Check out the shop tab on WURDradio.com. Hoodies, tees, and more in a variety of colors. The shop tab on WURDradio.com. Show the world that you're all about black. Talk Media.
I went to check on Pop today. We put our hands up to the glass as if we were touching. But really, the only touching part was that we both tried to smile.
That's no way to say hello or goodbye. COVID-19 vaccines are here, but until enough of us are vaccinated, we'll all still need to help slow the spread. Keep a 6-foot distance, wear a mask, and avoid indoor social gatherings. Learn more about vaccines and slowing the spread at cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDRadio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. We're still trying to reach Latasha Brown. We highlighted her as a Black history phenom on WURD radio, and I wanted to get that out, and I did. So assuming that we don't get her today, because I have to move on with the other guests, assuming that I don't get her today, I will make sure that she's on, because you all have got to experience her. She is amazing, and something probably happened at the national level that precludes her from getting on. So let me take a couple of these calls. Friendly Fred, how are you?
How you doing, honey?
I'm good. What can I do for you, sir?
I just want to say, Master told me one day, you don't have to cry alone. So, baby, dry your eyes and hold on and be strong and cheer up happy little people, friendly little people, special little people they are. Keep laughing, keep learning, keep jumping and playing, and reaching for the stars. And this is the last time you will ever have to cry. So you go on and cry and dry the tears from your eyes and keep your head to the sky. And Father replied, I heard your cry, and I'm wise enough to know when someone yearning for me, I can hear it miles away. Come to see victory, and you need devotion. But think about the little baby Sue. They need you. All they need is hope and a dream. And
oh, thank you. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
It's always good to hear from you. You're always good. Keep calling me at least once a week with those, okay?
Sure.
You have no idea how much you're helping Marvel with those, okay? I appreciate it.
All right, bye-bye.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. All right, bye-bye. Bye, Friendly Fred. Fishman, University, Fishman. Good afternoon, Fishman. How are you?
God is still sitting on the throne. I want to give a shout-out to Brother Dave the Rave, number 9/11. Can I give you a quick story?
I really don't have a whole lot of time, so your story has to be 2 minutes or less, sir.
Just a quick story. Our sister passed away, Linda Brickhouse.
Linda Brickhouse,
And Cody Anderson got the microphone, got the stage, and he said, Linda Brickhouse has two families. She has a biological family and she has a radio family. And we were in the church. We were voiceless and unrecognizable until Cody Anderson said, can the radio family please stand up? And it was like 80 or 90% of the church that stood up. And we looked around and looked at each other and had no recognition of each other behind Mr. Cody Anderson saying, please stand up.
Are you there, sir? I somehow lost him, Michael. I lost him. So that was Friendly Fred. Oh, he hung up. All right. Well, he hung up. Y'all need to say goodbye to Marvel. You know, say goodbye to Marvel. It's going to be all right. And so, all right, let me just move and pivot a little bit. I'm going to talk about Cody Anderson since I have a little bit of time. Listen, man, let me tell you something. Cody is someone who was so unassuming that I had no idea he was the Cody Anderson for almost an entire year of my working at WURD radio station. I would show up to do my work, and Troy would say to me, Cody's buying us lunch. I'm like, well, who the hell is Cody? And he said, no, Cody works here. You don't know Cody? I'm like, no. And he said, well, Cody goes to the Reading terminal and he buys us lunch. So he's asking, what do you want? I was like, do they have some chicken wings that are not fried? He was like, yep. Cody would make sure that I had my lunch every time I walked into those studios. I tried to pay him for my lunch. I didn't see this Cody. I'm like, is this Cody a phantom or something? And Troy was like, no, he will not take any money from you. Right around October, early November, I walked into the studios before the studio closed down on us because of COVID. So somewhere around September, October, Cody was in the studio having a conversation with somebody. I'm not really sure it was, but he was live on the air. I didn't know it was Cody. I walk into the studios, I'm cleaning because, you know, they laughed at me because I was spraying down everything, right? So I'm spraying down everything, spraying down the chair that the hosts sit in, wiping the stuff down, and I'm responding to the stuff that is going on. Cody got a shout out from The View this morning. Thank you for letting me know that, Michael. Cody was really well known. And so I'm responding to the stuff that was going on the air. And he says, you know, you seem to get this better than the people that I'm talking to. And I said, oh, tell me your name again. And he said, Cody. I said, Cody, the Cody that buys my lunch? He was like, yeah. And Troy said, that's Cody Anderson. And he laughed. He was so unassuming, so kind. And then in December, we honored him. You know, so I probably am the one that knows him the least out of everyone else. Everyone here at WURD has a story about Cody that is beyond the heartwarming. I didn't know, for instance, that he was the first one that bought WURD radio and that Dr. Lomax bought it from him. Didn't know that, right? Because Cody don't walk around with that stuff on his back. He didn't. He was just this sweet man that came through the studios and made sure all of us was okay every single day. And that's what I'm talking about. You want to talk about leadership? Leadership isn't talking about I did this and I am capable of doing that and I. There is no I in team. And Cody exemplified that. So here is a statement from WURD Radio President and CEO Sarah Lomax Reese regarding Cody. It is with a very heavy heart that we acknowledge the passing of radio icon Cody Anderson. According to his family, he passed peacefully on Saturday evening. Cody was instrumental in breathing life into WURD and shepherding it over our almost 20 years, first as general manager and most recently as a beloved host, mentor, and friend. Like his biological family, the WURD family will miss him deeply, and that is no exaggeration. But we are grateful for his tireless and generous support of independent Black media, which he championed every day of his life, especially through his advocacy of WURD Radio. Up until the time of his passing, Cody Anderson was actively involved at WURD Radio in a myriad of ways. He was the co-host of The Electric Magazine with Vicki Leach every Saturday from 7 to 9 a.m., co-host of the bi-weekly 10 a.m. Saturday morning shows with City Council President Darrell Clark and Philadelphia School Superintendent Dr. William Haidt, co-host of the weekly Laborers Live show every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m., and he regularly guest hosted wherever and whenever we needed him. His office was in the same building, on the same floor, and just a few doors away from WURD's offices. He flowed in and out of WURD headquarters, offering gentle but firm guidance to our hosts, producers, sales team, all of us. He offered me wise counsel, cultivated from a long career as a radio manager, entrepreneur, and community servant. On December 4th, WURD honored Cody in a 3-hour celebration at our annual Empowerment Experience event. During this program, we heard from current WURD hosts, radio pioneers he worked with during his long career, and his friends and family who have been influenced by his life and legacy. Man, Cody was amazing. Additionally, Cody was featured in the first episode of our new podcast, onWURD 2020 in Black, which explored the power, significance, and possibility of Black-owned and operated radio. Both of these offer a powerful record of Cody Anderson's thoughts and insights in his own words. WURD was his home. WURD was his family, his oldest son Kyle Anderson said to me recently, and we are his. Rest in power and peace, Cody Anderson. He was a life well lived. For more information, contact SLR, Sarah Lomax Reese, at wordradio.com or marketing at wordradio.com. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on wordradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. The next voice you will hear is that of Susan L. Taylor. Lord have mercy. We will be right back after these messages.
I'm Anthony McGlaughlin. Been denied insurance? Call 215-782-8574. Life insurance, age 0 to 85, no examination needed. Homeowners insurance, any home, any condition, same-day coverage. 215-782-8574. Auto insurance, we can have you covered in 15 minutes. Business insurance, call 24 hours a day, 215-782-8574. I'm Anthony McGlaughlin. When you need insurance, I can help.
WURD Radio celebrates Black History Month with Black Artist Story 365. Brought to you by Southwest Leadership Academy Charter School.
Welcome to Black Artist Story 365. My name is Envy McKee. Get into this episode where we explore the art and artistry of Tony Award-winning actress and singer and Philly home diva, Pearl Bailey. Auntie Pearl Bailey was born in Newport News, Virginia, to the Reverend Joseph James and Ella Mae Ricks Bailey. She graduated from Booker T. Washington High School in nearby Norfolk, Virginia, and decided to pursue a career in entertainment. She began by singing and dancing in Philadelphia's black nightclubs in the 1930s and soon started performing in other parts of the East Coast. She settled in New York City. She performed with famous folk like Cab Calloway and Duke Ellington. In 1946, she made her Broadway debut in St. Louis Woman. She was in a whole bunch of films too, honey, including the iconic Carmen Jones, starring Academy Award nominee Dorothy Dandridge. If you recall, Auntie Pearl played Carmen's friend, Frankie.
Tell you why I wanna dance. It ain't the sweetness in the music. I like the sweetness in the music, but that ain't why I wanna dance.
In 1967, Bailey and Cab Calloway headlined an all-black cast version of Hello, Dolly. The touring version was so successful, producer David Merrick took it to Broadway, where it played to sold-out houses and revitalized the long-running musical. Bailey was given a special Tony Award for her role, and RCA Victor made a second original cast album.
All those lights over there seem to be telling me where I'm going. When the whistles blow and the cymbals crash and the sparklers light the sky, I'm gonna raise the roof, I'm gonna carry on. Give me that old trombone, give me that old baton for the parade passing by.
So that's it for this episode of Black Artist Story 365. My name is Envy McKee. To hear more, tune into The Envy McKee Show, Friday nights, 7 to 10 p.m., right here on WURD.
Black Artist Story 365 was brought to you by Southwest Leadership Academy Charter School and the Pennsylvania Lottery. Get to winning with Win, 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 the new scratch-off from the Pennsylvania Lottery, with top prizes of $500,000. Players must be 18 or older. Please play responsibly. Benefits older Pennsylvanians every day. WURD Radio celebrates Black History Month with Black Artist Story 365. Brought to you by AARP, Thomas Jefferson, and New Voices for Reproductive Justice.
Welcome to Black Artist Story 365. My name is Envy McKee. Get into this episode where we explore the art and artistry of Trinidadian American, Tony Award-winning actor, voice actor, singer, dancer, composer, choreographer, costume designer, visual artist, and director, Jeffrey Holder. Part 1. King star Uncle Jeffrey was an August Leo, born Jeffrey Lamont Holder of Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago, the youngest of 5 children of Louise de France and Arthur Holder, who had immigrated from Barbados. Bosco Holder taught Jeffrey painting and dancing and recruited him to join a small folkloric dance troupe he had formed, the Holder Dancing Company. Bosco was 16, listen, and Jeffrey was 7. Okay? When Bosco left for London, Jeffrey was left in charge of the dance company as its director and lead performer. Soon after arriving in Brooklyn, he joined the Catherine Dunham's dance school, where he taught folkloric forms for 2 years. From 1955 to 1956, he performed with the Metropolitan Opera Ballet as a principal dancer. He left the ballet to make his Broadway debut in the Harold Arlen and Truman Capote musical, House of Flowers. While working on House of Flowers, he met Alvin Ailey, with whom he later worked extensively, and his future wife and muse, Carmen de Lavalade. After the show closed, he starred in an all-black production of Waiting for Godot in 1957. As a choreographer, because you know he's got all them lists of things that he was masterful at, Holder created dance pieces for many companies, including Alvin Ailey, American Dance Theater, for which he provided choreography, music, and costumes for Prodigal Prince in 1967, and the Dance Theater of Harlem, for which he provided choreography, music, and costumes for Douglas in 1974. He was director, costume designer, and choreographer, as we mentioned, in The Wiz in 1974. And in 1978, he directed and choreographed the Broadway musical Timbuktu. So that's it for this episode of Black Artist Story 365. My name is Envy McKee. To hear more, tune into The Envy McKee Show, Friday nights, 7 to 10 p.m., right here on WURD.
Black Artist Story 365 was brought to you by AARP Pennsylvania, Thomas Jefferson, and New Voices for Reproductive Justice. WURD honors the life and memory of Cody Anderson, a true pioneer whose legacy in the broadcast industry reaches across all media and will have a lasting impact for generations to come. Cody's wisdom, impact, generosity, and spirit reverberates throughout our airwaves. From the entire WURD family, thank you, Cody Anderson. This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Streaming live on WURDradio.com, the WURD Radio app, or watch live on WURD TV via Facebook and YouTube. WURD Radio, independent Black media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. WURD Radio is a devoted team of hosts, producers, and staff doing everything we can to serve Black people. As other media outlets grapple with trying to discover the needs of the Black community, WURD puts those needs front and center as we fight for them every day, all day. As we enter the final week of Black History Month, we know that our work is a part of history, a history of Black voices that refused to be silenced. We honor and call the names of those who have made Black history. There's Mary McLeod Bethune, James Baldwin, Garrett Morgan, Elijah McCoy, Malcolm X, Susan L. Taylor, who is now on the line, and the list goes on. But how are you making Black history? This is one of the most challenging times in history, and we need you to stand with us. For $90 per year, that's $1.73 per week, or 24 cents a day, you can take action. Let us know that what we do matters to you. Sign up today at wordradio.com, join now, and /join now, and type in the name of a person in Black history that you honor, or the host that sent you, and be heard. For more information, at wordradio.com/join now. Now, I've got to tell you, it gives me great honor. This woman, when I talk about highlighting Black history, she is a living icon that many of you know, some of you know, and some of you will be introduced to her today. So excited about this. Susan L. Taylor is the founder and CEO of the National Cares Mentoring Movement. After 27 years at the helm of Essence magazine, Taylor left publishing to devote her life to building the National Cares Mentoring, founded as Essence Cares. The National Cares mission is to help and end intergenerational poverty by securing and transforming the lives of under-resourced Black children. National Cares affiliates recruit caring adults to serve as mentors and role models at local youth-serving organizations. The national group mentoring programs focus on the emotional, social, and academic development of children and the wellness of adults who parent and mentor them. National Cares is piloting The Rising, an HBCU public schools literacy and STEM mentoring initiative now in development in Clark Atlanta University and funded by the National Science Foundation, Verizon, AT&T, Coca-Cola, and the Department of Energy. The initiative is designed to increase middle school students' self-esteem, reading comprehension, STEM competencies, and critical thinking skills. Once refined, The Rising will be offered for replication throughout the HBCU system. Susan L. Taylor, good afternoon.
Oh, my beloved Andrea Lawful Sanders.
Don't make me cry.
What an honor to be with you. You are just one of the most incredible people I know. These are not just words. This is the truth. You know, that you bring your capacity, your love, your skill back to the community is a great gift to us. And I want to say something to the listeners before we dive into, all the things we'll talk about today. You're not asking a lot of listeners. You're asking that we donate, each of us do our part, all hands on deck. Just what is it, how much a day?
24 cents a day, Susan.
24 cents a day, But let me say this about us, and I'm saying it to us. We are generous people. We are forgiving people. With all that's been rendered against us, most black folks are not mad at anybody. We just want equity and an opportunity to be able to take care of ourselves and our families, you know, own some property, own some businesses, take care of our community and move forward. You're asking us to donate a small amount of money a day, $99 a year?
$90 a year. $90 a year.
Here's what we do typically. We don't give to our community-based organizations, Andrea. What we do, we give to our families. There's no question about it. We give to our families. We give to our faith institutions. But we don't give to the community-based institutions that are really, what? Holding us up. Yes. There is no entity in our community more important than our media. And we are losing our media, our drum, our ability to communicate. Who cares about us more than us? Where else are we going to tell our stories? Yeah, in introducing me, you talked about Essence Magazine, and I was there for 37 years. I was at the helm of it for 27. Essence is still there. Where's Black Enterprise? Ebony Magazine, Jet Magazine, they're all gone. So all that information that we used to get from all those other entities, where are we getting it now? You have to go online to find it, and those entities have to pay people. So I'm just saying, step up, make that contribution. It's like skipping one shoe. That's what it is. One shoe, a half a pair of shoes. You know what we all on shoes? Yes. And let's help. Let's keep our Black media alive and growing.
Yes, ma'am. So I'm going to make it through this interview without crying. I think, you know, you have heard this time and again, but I want to start our conversation by telling people how you and I came together. What was your goal and what has happened since? Now, I was in Washington, D.C. in 2012 when I got a call from Deborah asking me to call you. She left a message on my voicemail. We have been reading in the spirit. We love the Essence magazine. I had the magazines on my coffee table, and I was like, nah, Susan Taylor didn't call me. This woman was wrong. So I called Deborah back, and I said, ma'am, I think you have the wrong number. I think you called the wrong Andrea. And she said, no, I didn't. Call Susan. Susan, I'm going to share with you very openly that I refused to call you. I called Carla Thompson, who was over at Kellogg Foundation, who has been a friend of mine for decades. And I said, Carla, I can't call her. That's Susan. She said, what is wrong with you? Call her. See what she wants. At the very least, you want to see what she wants. And it was Carla Thompson that made me pick up the phone and call you. And the way you responded to me, like I had known you my entire life, you had me, not only had me at hello, you were in the middle of doing something that I had been doing my entire life, and that was looking at the lives and the ableness and the stability of Black and brown children unapologetically. So from that day forward, Susan, when I think of you, when I sit in front of you, when you ask me to help set up the altar for our gatherings, when I listen to you talk to us about what we can do to support each other, when you guide us, when I wanted to scream and give up because people were just so mean and unkind, you pulled us back to center and say, these things happening because such and such is happening, right? And so as a living legend, someone who has impacted us in ways we can't even begin to imagine, I want you to share a little bit with us now about your journey. How did you get from where you started? How old were you when you began this journey to where you got to Essence to where you are now? What was the journey like for you?
Well, you know, I want to tell people that life is, it's not a playground, it's a schoolroom. And I didn't know that early on. I come from a hard-working Caribbean family, and I grew up in my father's store in Harlem. And my family never said, go to college. My parents never said that, though my brother did. They said, They said, start a business and buy a home. Mm-hmm. And so right after high school, I thought I wanted to be an actor. You know how we hear you on the radio, and somebody says, oh, I want to be, a radio host. But you know nothing about the profession. So I saw Dorothy Dandridge on screen in a movie called Carmen Jones that most people listening are probably too young to even know, but you need to go see that amazing film with Harry Belafonte, too, and Pearl Bailey and Sammy Davis, a whole host of people. And I just said, you know, I want to be an actor, but I wasn't a good actor. I studied a little bit. I got parts because I was a writer. I didn't know it then. And I wrote my own audition parts. And they kept, you know, hiring me. And then I found myself on Broadway understudying Paula Kelly in a 3-character play. And I said, Lord of mercy, if this woman ever gets sick, there is no way I could ever step on that stage. It was still in previews and deliver the part. And I made a promise to myself, Lord, if you let me out of this, I will follow my heart. I'll find my path, my métier. And with that, I went to cosmetology school. And I wanted to start a cosmetics company, and that's what I did. And that led me to Essence. Because at that time, we're talking about 1970, black women who had journalism degrees weren't interested in or knew nothing about cosmetology and beauty. This was the height of the Black Power movement. Stepped into Essence. Wherever you are, throw down and do the best job you can. Because when you do that work, the Holy Spirit opens the path more widely. I went from being beauty editor to fashion and beauty editor. And within 10 years, I became editor-in-chief of the magazine.
What are some of the challenges, pitfalls, lessons that you learned along the way from fashion and beauty editor to editor-in-chief of Essence?
I'll tell you something, and I learned this from Coretta Scott King, because I did go back to school, not even back to school. I went to college for the first time long after I was editor-in-chief of the magazine, and then I wanted to earn a master's in divinity, so I went to Union Theological Seminary. I didn't complete it, but I enrolled, and I was there. And I said, let me impress my professor and interview Coretta Scott King, you know, who I'd known and traveled with and knew her well enough. So I call Miss Coretta up, and I do this amazing interview with her. And here's what she shares with me, Andrea. I say to her, you know, oh, Dr. King. She said, no, he wasn't like a brilliant student at Morehouse. Listen, how could that be? She said he was a C- student, a C student at best. I said, Miss Coretta, that is totally unbelievable. And what I learned from that, she said, but when he went off to Crozier, well, how did he get into Morehouse at 16 years old, 15? She said because it was during World War II, and they were sweeping all the young men out of college and sending them to war, and they brought the boys out of high school and sent them to college early. I said, oh. She said, but once he got to Crozier to really work on a master's in divinity, that's when he really became serious, because he learned about poverty. He had no idea, because he grew up affluent. Daddy King was a very, you know, well thought of and highly regarded and also highly esteemed and moneyed pastor. If you could see where Dr. King lived in Atlanta in the 1930s and 40s, we would live there today, a beautiful home.
Wow.
And I just said, okay, what I learned from her is this. Anything that is known is knowable. Stop being insecure about the things you don't know, things you wish you had studied, all the information you wish you had in your head. People who have knowledge love sharing it. They want to teach, they want to share, they want you to know that they know. And I have to remind myself of that all the time. I don't come from the nonprofit world. I come from the business world, from the publishing world. So I've been making this road while walking it, Andrea. Yes. And what I have learned is that anything that's known is knowable. And that we are enough. Not even enough. We're more than enough. Each of us is more than enough.
Wow. 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 So you were the editor-in-chief. Tell us how the Essence Music Festival started, and then move us into Katrina, then into Essence Cares, which was how you started the National Cares Mentoring Movement.
Oh, yes. Well, actually, George Wein, who's a phenomenal concert producer and produced Montrose Jazz Festival and Newport Jazz Festival, was always thinking about wanting to do a festival, a music festival for black folk. And when he saw the Essence Awards on television and the quality of it, he said, that's the institution that I should do a festival with. So he reached out to Bill Cosby, who was a good friend of our publisher, Ed Lewis, and he said, you know, for your 25th anniversary, we're getting ready to celebrate that 25 years ago. We'd love to do a festival together. And Ed Lewis brought it to his partner, Clarence Smith, and to me, editor-in-chief of the magazine. What do you think? I said, I think it's a grand idea. And so we began planning it. But I said, we can't just do a festival that brings, you know, hundreds of thousands of people to the Superdome in New Orleans to hear music. We cannot do just that in the second poorest state in the nation. We have to produce something for people who have no interest in music or who don't have the money. Everybody has an interest in music, but who can't afford to even buy a ticket.
Right.
So we have to create something for the community. And that gave birth to the empowerment seminars, which has really become the heart and soul
of the music festival, yes.
Of the festival. So I produced that for about, I want to say, maybe 200 people, and about 400 showed up. And it was raining. And then the next year, I think I produced it for maybe 2,000 people, and 4,000 showed up. And it just continued to grow from there. Free and open to the public.
Wow. So
And
tell me.
so,
Go ahead.
Yeah. Katrina, I'm sorry. Katrina came. Go ahead, ask your question.
Oh, so, you know, someone is on here, Bernita in Philadelphia. She said, I love her. I met Susan Taylor in the 80s at a sorority event at the University of Pennsylvania. She upset the host and sat at my table next to me. And that's you. That has always been you. So, oh, look who just joined us in this call, Susan. Oh, you're not going to believe it. Latasha Brown from Black Voters Matter was just here on our call. I'm going to, Michael, pull her back in because I think Susan would love to talk to her, and we'll work in together as it applies to what's going on. Pull her back in, Michael. Pull her back in. Pull her back in, Michael. Pull her back in. I think Susan would love to talk to her. I highlighted her as a Black history icon today, along with you. So tell us now how you went from the music festival with the empowerment seminars to Essence Cares, which became the National Cares Mentoring Movement.
Well, you know, Katrina just devastated New Orleans, and we lost so many people who helped us put on. Well, it takes thousands of people to do that. And I said to the team, we just can't go back to New Orleans and do a festival as we've done it before. We have to do something really important for the community. And I just saw how children had been abandoned and parents died. It's very painful. So the next year we could go back to New Orleans. We had to go to Houston. But what we did was we created Essence Cares. And it was a call to our community to go back to their respective cities and to find places where children needed them, Black children needed them. And that wasn't enough. You know, that's why I said the clarion call that you put out today for just making such a small donation once a year, adhere to it, step up to it. We didn't step up to mentoring. And so I had to create a framework. And I couldn't let people across the country use the name Essence, and that gave birth to the National Cares Mentoring, founded as Essence Cares. So what we're asking people to do is just really get involved. Join our boards across the country. Help Andrea right there in Pennsylvania, you know. SIPA, Southeast Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania Cares, yep.
Help us build, help us serve. So that's how it all began, and we've been growing and really doing well.
Yes. So, Susan, I got to tell you, on the line with us, she joined in via Skype, is Latasha Brown, who is the co-founder of Black Voters Matter. Latasha, good afternoon, madam. Say hello to Susan L. Taylor.
Good afternoon, and Sister Susan knows that I absolutely love her. I adore her work. I adore who she is, who she has been in my life over the years of just being just that woman, that regal woman that I'm like, when I grow up, I want to be like this, right? I want to be like this sister right here. And so she's also been a source of strength for me in her presence and who she is. And she's also deposited words in my life. So it is great to be in this space with you, Susan.
Oh, well, let me Tasha, I'm in the space with you all the time because you've just been burning up the airwaves. You turn on TV, and there you are, really, I'm just bringing us the inspiration and the information we have to understand about the power of our vote, the power of our vote. And with these midterms coming up, give us some wisdom. Please give us some wisdom. What is it that we should be doing right now?
You know, I want people to, thank you for asking that question. You know, we have made politics be about everything except what it's really about. We've made politics be about political parties, about candidates, about policy, when what politics is really about is people. And so what we have to really think about in this, you know, part of the work with Black Voters Matter, we were very intentional that we wanted to shift the paradigm, that we wanted to center the conversation that we should be having around political engagement wasn't just about voting. It was really and it wasn't about participation. It was about power. That are people who are literally struggling, are people who are literally navigating structural racism every day of our lives, are people who we're seeing where our brothers and sisters are getting shot down like dogs in the street, are people that literally, that we know that we have gotten underpaid and in many instances not paid for our work. That this is the moment for us to really stand in our power and assert ourselves, and literally being politically engaged is one of them. You know, when you are in this kind of environment, you can't afford to leave anything on the table because we're doing this for our folks. And so I hope that people were looking at what happened in Georgia and what happened throughout the country this year. Don't think this was about one election or one campaign. This is literally about how can we transform our communities? How can we use our agency and tap into our power and make shift? I'm a native of Selma, Alabama. And it started being frustrating because I would hear people talk about, the Black folks in Selma who were a part of the voting rights movement, that they were putting everything on the line because they so believed in this system.
Miss Brown, hold on 1 second for me, please. 1 second. I have to take a quick station break. And I don't want to miss what you have to say. So let me take the quick station break. We'll come back. And boy, everybody is texting me going, this interview is fire. I'm so excited. Hold on, both of you, please.
Okay.
You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Did you know you can use LIHEAP to pay your PICO bill? Last year, PICO customers received almost $17 million in free LIHEAP support. This year, take advantage. This deal is first come, first served. Apply now. Call 800-34-HELP-4.
Your child deserves to be educated in a safe and supportive learning environment. Southwest Leadership Academy Charter School, a tuition-free public school, is accepting applications for the 2021-2022 school year. SLAC's 2 locations offer single-gender classrooms in a dual-gender environment. Kindergarten and first-grade classrooms have a 15-to-1 student-teacher ratio. Students learn music, art, and fitness. Southwest Leadership educates the whole child, preparing students to become leaders. slacks-phila.org, Instagram at Southwest Leadership Academy, or email info@slacks-phila.org.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. I feel like I have hit the icon lottery. You are watching now as we have Latasha Brown, co-founder of Black Voters Matter, along a lot of other things that she's done. Miss Brown, I want you to know we read your entire biography, highlighting you as a Black woman that rocks. And on top of that, we have the living legend, Susan L. Taylor, the founder and CEO of the National Cares Mentoring Movement. Both of them are on the line at the same time. Let me tell you something. If I don't do another interview after today, I have done it. This right here is what I'm talking about. So go ahead, Miss Brown. Continue to tell us what happened with you in Selma, Alabama, and then I'm going to pull Susan right back in.
So I'll just say briefly that, there's 3 things that I want people to think about what is going to take of where we are right now. And I was sharing around in Selma, the narrative was that Black people in Selma were they came together on the bridge and they were fighting because they believed in, democracy. They were literally fighting because they had this belief in the system. That's really not what happened. The people in Selma were fighting for their own agency, for their own humanity. That part of what the voting rights movement was a means to an end, not an end in itself. And I think it's really important. There are three things I'll just say quickly. I think that we should have on the front of our minds of what is being called of us in this moment. The first thing is I think that we're all being called to operate out of a vision. That literally there are some people who in my community, my family grew up in the Black Belt of Alabama. My great-great-great-great-grandmother was brought as an enslaved African to Orville, Alabama, which was 30 miles away from where my home was. That was our place of origin in this country. And so I think, and even in the midst of that, there are folks that even in the midst of being enslaved, had a vision that their children were going to have a better circumstance. They had a vision of freedom. They had a vision of our liberation. And so I think it's really important that we don't just get caught up in responding into the now, but that we're also maintaining a vision. Often when I go places, I ask people to close their eyes and envision what would America look like without racism. The majority, if not half the room to the majority, cannot see anything. Wow. And so how will we create something to be brought into being if we don't have a vision? And the last quick two things that I'll say, we have to have a vision. We have to use our authentic voice, which means we've got to align our voice with our spirit, with the work that we see ahead, and use that voice. And if there's anybody on the face of the earth that I know has done that, it's Sister Susan Taylor. Yes. has created even her space from essence, but as she continues to do this work around literally the power of using our authentic voice and standing in that. And then the third thing I think is really important is for us around victory. My grandmother would sing this song, by and by, Lord, when the morning comes, all the saints will come together as one. They will tell the story, how we overcome, and we'll understand it better by and by. Amen. And so there's something about sharing the history of our victories that actually inspire us to move forward. And so those are the three things that I think, literally having a clear vision for what our people can see, not just responding to what is, but what could be. Secondly, using our authentic voice to create and speak life into that thing, right? And then three, literally holding our victories, sharing those victories, so that our people can know that we have always been on a path of winning, that in the midst of everything that's tried to destroy us, to undermine us, still we rise.
Lord have mercy. Susan, I'm about to stand up and do a whole dance right now, but I'm going to stay in my seat and be a good host. Now, you listen to Miss LaTosha Brown. She said exactly to you what I said to you at the beginning of the show. You have given us a space for our authentic voices. You have created the spaces for us to grow and thrive in who we are because of who you are. And you have opened up the doors for us to step into rooms we would have not otherwise been able to walk into, simply because of the agency of who you are. So one of the things that Ms. Brown talked about was operate out of a vision. Tell us about the National Cares Mentoring Movement, a program which is how you and I met, and we're working now in Southeast Pennsylvania Cares in Philadelphia, really getting ready. Stephen called us. We're getting some funding to start doing Rising in one of the schools here in the Philadelphia School District, where 33% of the third graders are able to read, 33%. Right? And so instead of just looking at the dim statistics, Susan, talk to us about the National Cares Mentoring Movement and what your ultimate goal was in your vision for our people.
Vision is the key. That's the word. And what we're moving toward is making us a self-sustaining, self-supporting community. One in which every child in our community, every child has access to quality education. No child is homeless. No child is hungry. That's not like a big vision. That's what it should be. But without a vision, you can't realize a thing. I'm thinking about the fact that we're on a station. This is my favorite station in the nation, founded by Dr. Walter Lomax Jr., who had a vision. He loved black people. This station could have been sold a long time ago for millions of dollars. Sarah Lomax Reese, who is his daughter, who today is the head of the station, the CEO, has held it in the black community. Most of our black media products have been sold.
Yep.
So we have to really come to an appreciation of what is possible when we link on and aims and vision. So let's have a vision for what we can do for our young. How are we graduating our children from high school reading at a second grade level? That's what's happening. How do we have 80% of black students not reading at grade level? They're not going to be able to get jobs. They're not going to be able to go on to higher education. But this is something that we can do. So what we're doing at National Cares, the challenge is always the resources. The challenge is the resources. That's why, Latasha, I was asking, please, everybody, make that contribution that Andrea has asked us to make. We have got to take care of our own. So what we're doing is we have to heal. We have to heal from the 400 years of being brutalized, marginalized, demonized, spoken about in ways that have taught black people to hate being black, to hate our color, our hair, our lips, our hips, our motherland. You know, there are little windows where we come and we say black is beautiful, but then we go back to the very same thing, living in a colortocracy. So what I'm saying...
Colorocracy. Say that again, Susan. That's a what?
I just call it a colorocracy. You know, you look at... It's not black and brown. I grew up in El Barrio in Spanish Harlem. So we were black and we were brown, and they were Jewish people and Italians. We were all in the mix. It was like the business community. You go a little bit west, it was all black. You go further east, and it was all Italian and Jewish, and the Latinos were right there with us. They had just come from Puerto Rico. You know, there weren't many others. This is the 1940s and 1950s, 1960s. But when we talk about black and brown, let's just say that the door will open more quickly for brown people than it will for black people. But we have to work together. But I'm saying you see how Latinos love one another? I had a Latino brother say to me, you know what, when we know there's a job available, we tell all the other Latinos. But my black colleagues, they don't tell one another. That's what slavery did to us. It separated us from family, language, history, our food sources, our religion, everything that is there, our names, our countries of origin. We are rebuilding the village. That's what we're doing, Latasha and Andrea, and each of us has a part to play. We are rebuilding the village, making sure that each of us is able and stable. We have to know where we need healing. I have to know that, you know, keep your ego behind you. You don't have to be in the light all the time. I don't even want to be in the light. I really want you youngins to step up and let me do what I'm supposed to do, which is like raise the money, add my wisdom where it's needed, but not to be the face of and in the forefront of.
Right.
Having celebrated my 75th birthday, it's time for me to put my feet up and still contribute in a different kind of way. That's what I'm looking at. And so the National Cares Record Movement is a community galvanizing effort, nonpartisan, but community galvanizing, bringing the community together, and linking the able and stable with the ones who are humble and in need. We have become a leader. We've separated ourselves from black people who are struggling and poor. And if we look at our history, all of us were struggling and poor. Every black person, you go back in your history. If you're African American, you come up from poverty. And you come up from poverty and then you move out of the community. You can move out of the community. I don't live in the community anymore, but I belong to my community. And I have to support my community. That's the reality. That's what we're building. That's what we're building. Can I ask Latasha a question?
Sure.
I want to ask about public policy. What public policy organizations are on Capitol Hill petitioning for black people?
You know, when you think about, there's some organizations that I think, some of them, one of them we're actually connected with, which is the National Coalition of Black Civic Participation, the Black Women's Roundtable. But the Lawyers Committee on Civil Rights, many of the organizations that I am familiar with that are actually doing some work around organizing and for particular policy. And it's such an important piece. I'm so glad that Susan asked me, because there are several their organization, the Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies. They don't do a lot of lobbying. They're doing more around gathering legislators together and bringing lay people and practitioners to actually be able to talk to policymakers around our priorities. I think they do an excellent job at that. The Lawyers Committee on Civil and Human Rights does a really good job, particularly on issues as it relates to civil and human rights. There's a lot of the organizations do work really more related on kind of issue-based organizing. Because of that, there's not enough, I think, not enough organizations who are on the policy end in DC with well-paid lobbyists lobbying for a Black agenda. There is the Black Future Lab that just came out with a Black mandate, which is actually really good, around a platform of some policy priorities. They've actually been gathering the information over, I think they've done the largest survey of Black people throughout the country. What I don't think that they have, I think it's a community-based kind of lobbying, but I don't think that they have paid lobbyists necessarily that are in DC. And so I think that that's one of the NAACP as well, has a policy piece, but it's interesting because that's one of the areas for us, for Black Voters Matter, that we realized was a weakness, that what we needed is that as we were doing a lot of the work around having a legal strategy, we have a couple of lawsuits, we will sue these states around issues related to civic engagement and access to the ballot, that we needed to be stronger in the advocacy and the policy advocacy component and part. And so that's why one of our third partners who is a part of our executive leadership team is attorney April Albright, who is actually building and whole policy advocacy wing out for Black Voters Matter, so that literally we are organizing the vote, organizing our people around a particular policy, but we actually have more presence to be able to push and advocate for that policy. I know that so there's several organizations that I know of that are doing that, but I agree with you. Well, let me just say, I believe, I'm not sure if you're saying this or not, but we don't have the same level of presence around pushing a particular a policy agenda, that we're talking about reparations and some of the other things that we need to see in our community that's much broader. A lot of the folks that are representing Black issues are very issue centered, very issue oriented. I'm not aware of an organization that is really kind of like holding a Black agenda, advocating necessarily for a Black agenda, but I do know of several organizations that are doing really good work pushing for different elements of policy for Black people that would benefit Black people.
Andrea,
yes, Susan.
Andrea,
go ahead.
Those organizations that LaTosha just mentioned, I know them. Of course, we know Melanie Campbell, National Coalition, Black Civic Participation, Black Women's Roundtable. I was on the board of the Joint Center. I don't know Black Future Lab, but I'm going to look them up. Lawyers Committee, when Barbara Onwine was running it, and now there's another sister who's phenomenal. We know those. What we have to really practice is collaboration. Each one has a little bit of a policy thing. What we need,
right.
We to Capitol Hill. We were invited by who took us to Capitol Hill. It might have been Melanie Campbell who took us to Capitol Hill. I was so thrilled. And they asked me to speak, and I just said, a lot of the Congressional Black Caucus leaders were there, and we know most of them. And I just said, I'm so honored to be here. They shut me down. You're honored to be here? We're honored that you all are here, because we never see Black people here petitioning for anything. What we see, busloads of Asian people pulling up, even Native Americans are rolling up. The Jewish committee rolls up. White folks from all over the country, the Christian right, the Christian left, the gay community, LGBTQIA people, rolling up every day, knocking on doors, talking to our aides about policies they want to see implemented. They said the last time that we saw a group of Black people, I think it was Deltas, and it was all the sisters came, they were in red, and people were running around. Who are these women? Who are these women in red? There were years between that visit and our visit. So this is something that we really have to understand, that rather than, sprinkling our little bits in places that really don't coalesce the power. We need to pull it together and have one. Everybody contribute. Put some money in the pot. Let me say this final thing. I can remember when, at Essence, Clarence Smith, who was co-founder, said that we weren't getting, WURD is not getting a fair share of advertising. Absolutely not. Because we're not conscious consumers. We're not saying, you know what, Philadelphia, we're not spending money in your store, supermarket, department store if you don't advertise on our station. We're not coming in there. And we'll protest and we'll petition and we'll tell black people, hold your money back. That's the moment we're at. That's what we have to do. So Clarence Smith was pulling together all of the black media organizations, advertising and the magazines that I mentioned, and said, okay, we're going to pay dues into this collaborative, and we're going to make sure that black media get its fair share of advertising. Guess what? We couldn't get the black organizations to pay the dues. So it's a moment for us to awaken. And I finally want to say that I think that this COVID moment that has shut us into ourselves and forced us to look at who we are, what's really important to us, what we saw happen on the 6th of January in Washington, D.C., that carnage, that brutality, the bestiality that we saw just being rendered over 4 hours is what black people have withstood for 400 years. And this moment is a time of awakening for us. And the most important thing for us is working together, staying healthy and strong, being in our right mind, and working together without our egos tearing us apart.
Can you both hold on one second? I have one last question. It's something, this interview is amazing. Just hold on one second for me, please. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
Recovery starts with a call. Pennsylvania's Substance Use Disorder Hotline is staffed by real people who are trained to help. They're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They'll get you or your loved one into treatment regardless of your access to insurance. If you or someone you know is suffering from addiction, call 1-800-662-HELP. Recovery starts with a call.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
Okay, Her's new fire potato chips and cheese curls, they are spicy. Whew, they're hottest snacks yet. Hold on. Whew. But you know, it's not just heat. There's some nice sweet and savory stuff going on too. Ooh, there's that heat again. It burns, but it burns so tasty. Ooh, that's hot. Find Her's Fire Snacks at your store today. Whew. Taste the flavor, feel the heat, break out the Her's.
This is not a fad for us. We will not resume our regular programming when things die down. We're not black to help our bottom line or because it's politically correct. We're not joining a fight. This has been our fight, our message, our people. Black lives have always mattered here. We are undeniably, indefatigably, unapologetically, permanently Black Talk Media. WURD.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you are just joining us, I have on the line two icons, honey, not one, but two. Co-founder of the Black Voters Matter, Miss Latasha Brown, who is burning up the airwaves and the country with her powerful voice and presence around why Black Lives Matter, and to make sure that we have a vision, that we use our voices, and we work collaboratively together in a most authentic way. And then we have the living icon, Susan L. Taylor, Editor-in-Chief Emeritus of Essence Magazine and the founder of the National Cares Mentoring Movement. I could not have these two powerful women on and let them go without asking them this question. In the pivotal moment that we're in Black history, right? Everybody wants, to start black news. I'm seeing folks trying to start black news in different stations, black this, black that. We have become the thing, right? And we know it won't last if we don't step up behind it. What is the message that you have for our people that are watching us? Understanding that you have to work hard, that you're going to face all kinds of challenges, understanding that there are nights when you cry yourselves to sleep, because I understand, right? We've been talking about this. Tell our people now, what can be done to lift us up a little bit further out of the 400 years of bondage that we have been in, based on what you see happening around the country now? That is my final question for both of you.
So, Sister Susan, do you want to go first?
I can, if you'd like.
Yes, I want to yield to your wisdom.
Yield to my wisdom. I think we have to learn how to love ourselves and love one another again. That is just the real critical piece. Yeah, there's a lot of black news. But I have to tell you, when you look at the newsrooms and who's really dictating what is shown and what's said, rarely do we have enough of us there. And stories are being told, and sometimes they're being told very well and very authentically. And Andrea, I think you just said it. Is it going to last? This is New York City. This is where I am. We don't have a black-owned radio station here anymore. We used to have a whole host of them. We don't have any anymore. You still do. In Philadelphia, we have to take care of our own and what we have. We have to understand how precious it is to have a drum, to be able to tell your story, our story, so that our children know who we are. So I think one of the most important things that we have to do right now is pay attention to our health and wellness. I was listening to the advertisements, the sponsors who came on. There was one for drug addiction. If anybody is struggling with drug addiction, being addicted to anything is painful. Go get the help you need. Understand that life is so good. God is so good. The Holy Spirit, by whatever name you call the divinity, Allah, Jehovah, Yahweh, is so good because we can change our lives. We can heal ourselves just by taking that first step. And that's what's needed. We can't have been through what black people have lived through for 400 years. And the recent killings of our innocent young people for no reason, and nobody is charged with murder. That stuff resonates inside of us. It's called epigenetics. We have to heal that trauma. Then we have to learn how to stay healthy and come together. I want to see us come together on Saturdays and share the history and bring the elders and the children together to create safe communities, jobs in our communities. This is why we have to stand strongly and say we need your dollars to support our entities. We're spending with you. We want you to spend with us. So we stop being a conscious consumer, an unconscious consumer. That's a major piece. And Latasha, I hope that you say something to us about redistricting, because I need to know how we can prevent that from happening, because that's how the vote is stolen. That's one of the ways.
That's right.
That the vote is stolen. And the vote is a powerful, powerful tool that we have. So thank you for that question, Andrea.
Oh, you're welcome. Oh, my gosh. So, Natasha, Miss Brown, we have 4 minutes left. I need you to rattle it off because the people over here are so enjoying this interview. If I get one more text, my phone is going to just fall.
So I will be quick. There's so much I want to say, but I do think that Sister Susan said it all. Part of this is really about us taking care of ourselves. And that looks like what it says, taking care of ourselves. That means we take care of the politics in our community. That means that we take care of the businesses in our community. That means that we take care of our loved ones in our community. And so if COVID-19 didn't do anything else, I think it came to show us, that there's a major shift. And the question is, what is being called of us in this moment? And so, as it related to, because we don't have that much time, related to around redistricting, what I will say is I think it's important, to Sister Susan's point, that we literally have to support Black-led organizations. Find a political home. If I can give a couple of quick points, is find a political home and write a check, y'all, whether it's $5, $10. We give white people money every single day that don't care anything about us. We go and spend money on hundreds of dollars on brands that literally marginalize us to the point where you don't see us reflected in their management, in their stockholders, any of that. The bottom line is find a Black organization that you are aligned with and support them. That is one of the ways to push you forward. Secondly, the redistricting is happening. And so each of the states, there's going to be a group, some of the traditional civil rights groups like NAACP, my organization, Black Voters Matter, if you want to figure out how to get involved in that process. And also Eric Holder's organization has been leading around the redistricting. That is another way that you can get involved in as well. You can text us, text We Matter to 797979.
Hold on, let me write that down. Text We Matter to 797979.
79.
Okay.
797979. Shoot us an email and we may be able to connect you with organizations in your local state that are doing this work. And the last and the final thing is, I hope we really know what time it is. That everything around us is telling us that there has been a shift. What we saw happen on January the 6th wasn't a result that we're losing, this result that something is changing. And there's some people having a hard time accepting what is inevitable. And so because we've got to get ready, y'all. And so my last question, kind of comment would be, what is your radical reimagining of this nation? What is your radical reimagining of every single system that exists? And so literally we have to start thinking of ourselves, not just responders to what some founders of America thought, who literally didn't even have the foresight to see any of us or even see the humanity of our ancestors, but we've got to start thinking of ourselves as Black futurists. We have to think of ourselves as founders of a new nation, and that is going to require us creating that vision, having our authentic voice, and literally sharing our victories. And more than anything, I think what Sister Susan said, we have got to take care of each other. Nobody got to break that down. We know what that means. We know that when you take care of people, you make sure that folks are eating. That means that you take care and you do business with Black businesses. When you take care of people, that means that you check on folks and see how they're doing. When you take care of people, that means you stand in and stand up for them. So one thing, we have to take care of ourselves, and that includes our collective selves as well as ourselves personally.
Ooh, child. Listen, Susan, how can folks reach the National Cares Mentoring Movement? Because I'm going to talk about both of them.
Please go to caresmentoring.org, caresmentoring.org, our website.
Okay. All right, Susan, I'm going to have you both back on because there's going to be some changes with Southeast Pennsylvania Cares here in Philadelphia. I'm so excited about that, and I'm sure we'll talk when the other piece comes up with the donations that are happening. We can't talk about that quite yet, but we've highlighted 3 organizations here in Philadelphia that are Black-led and run that will get those donations. So I'm glad to know that that's happening. Latasha Brown from the co-founder of the Black Voters Matter, and Susan L. Taylor, CEO and president of the National Cares Mentoring Movement. You are 2 Black women that exemplifies what we need to see and hear all day, every day. You are 2 Black women that we look to, whether you believe it or not. When those nights are restless, please understand that there are those of us beside you, around you, and behind you that are paying attention to everything that you do. And we will lift you up to the ancestors and continue to pray for you as you move forward. My gratitude to the both of you for being on with us today. And thank you on behalf of WURD Radio and its listeners. Bye-bye.
God bless you, and thank you, Andrea. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. All right, bye-bye.
Blessings to you.
Yes, ma'am. Bye-bye. Oh my gosh, that was so good. Wait, let me go ahead and do this, and then we can, y'all listen, if I don't do another interview for the rest of this year, I am full. We had Commissioner Outlaw on. We had Latasha Brown on from Black Voters Matter, Susan L. Taylor from the National Cares Mentoring Movement. They dropped enough gems to last us for 4 lifetimes. I'm trying to tell you. And coming up next will be Donna Frisbee Greenwood from the fund. I am not playing. We are not done. Who, child? WURD Radio is a devoted team of hosts, producers, and staff doing everything we can to serve Black people. As other media outlets grapple with trying to discover the needs of the Black community, WURD puts those needs front and center, and we fight for them every day, all day. As we enter the final week of Black History Month, we know that our work is a part of that history, a history of Black voices that refused to be silenced. We call and honor their names of those who have made it. Latasha Brown, Commissioner Daniel Outlaw, Susan L. Taylor, Sarah Lomax Reese, oh my God, Cody Anderson, and we just could go on and on. But how are you making Black history? This is one of the most challenging times in history, and we need you to stand with us. For $90 per year, you heard Susan say this, y'all, stop spending money with people who are not taking care of us. If they're not advertising with our station, don't spend any money with them. That's how we get our Black power back, right? So for $90 a year, $1.73 per week, or 24 cents a day, you can take action. Let us know that what we do matters to you. For more information, go to wordradio.com/join now. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on wordradio.com. Follow us. I am filled with emotion right now. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
WURD Radio is independent Black media, and we're able to stay independent because of our forward movement and members like you.
Treat yourself to the treat of buying a WURD membership. It's less than a quarter a day. That's less than a bag of chips. And we really, truly need to keep this platform going so that we can stay connected as we reimagine our community in 2021.
Start or renew your forward membership today at wordradio.com/forward or call 215-425-7875. WURD Radio. Independent Black media.
I went to check on Pop today. We put our hands up to the glass as if we were touching. But really, the only touching part was that we both tried to smile.
That's no way to say hello or goodbye. COVID-19 vaccines are here, but until enough of us are vaccinated, we'll all still need to help slow the spread. Keep a 6-foot distance, wear a mask, and avoid indoor social gatherings. Learn more about vaccines and slowing the spread at cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Join WURD's Charles Ellison on Tuesday, February 23rd at 10 a.m. for a special broadcast in partnership with Philadelphia Forum for Faith, Law, and Giving for a conversation on the legacy of Reverend Dr. Leon Sullivan as we celebrate his extraordinary accomplishments and explore how we replicate and expand his strategies to build and sustain community and economic development. This discussion will feature community leaders in conversation with Charles Ellison. You won't want to miss this special broadcast, Tuesday, February 23rd at 10 a.m. exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Streaming live on wordradio.com and the WURD Radio app, or watch live on WURD TV via Facebook and YouTube.
Hello, my name is Andrea Delzell, and I've been using a wheelchair since I was 5 years old. If I had one message for the general public, it would be relax. Some folks get really flustered around disabled people, so they just pretend we're not there. I've actually had waiters talk to my companion and completely ignore me. People with disabilities just want the same respect and consideration as everyone else.
This is a message from United Spinal Association. Download our disability etiquette booklet at unitedspinal.org.
Celebrating Black history all year long. Fannie Lou Hamer.
We are sick and tired of being sick and tired.
This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Philadelphia, independent Black media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on wordradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you are just joining us, I had our star-studded lineup is the only way that I can describe this. I was very intentional for Black History Month to highlight people, and every day we've been highlighting folks and talking about them. Today I had some of those people on the air. You all wanted to reach out to Commissioner Daniel Outlaw. She came ready. She didn't make any excuses, and she told us exactly what was going on, where they fell short, what she's trying to do to make a difference, and what she wants from the community, what she's expecting from the community as a direct result to make sure that we can all work together. Then I had Latasha Brown from Black Voters Matter, co-founder of Black Voters Matter, who is a powerful voice, right up there with Stacey Adams. She has been eating up the airwaves on national television, but not just eating up the airwaves. She's the kind of leader that's not just talking the talk, she's walking the walk. So when we pull back the onion and look to see what she's doing, she's actually getting work done in her communities. Very important. And beside her was Susan L. Taylor, founder of the National Cares Mentoring Movement that started as Essence Cares. And they both talked about loving on ourselves, being authentic, getting the work done, taking care of our community. And so, my, I have 2 women left. But before we get them on, let me quickly take Prince. Prince, how are you?
I don't know. I think you should just drop the mic. You know what I mean? You just drop the mic. Call it a day.
And Prince, I'm ready to drop the mic and call it a day. Those 3 interviews were so good. So good. What's up, sir?
So you know, Alan Dobbs, city council person, was on the station earlier today, and he was talking about the travesty it was to have those folks standing outside without a porta potty and without any ability to wash their hands in 21-degree weather getting the vaccine. And so I very much agree with him, but since he's, setting himself up to run for mayor, blaming the mayor is not the way. It's like you come into the black community and talk about the problems, and then you keep doing that, and then somehow you come on this station, and then we wind up, you want us to vote for you. We had that when somebody came on the station and started talking about stop and frisk. But to make the point is that it was a travesty. It was wrong that they didn't get the stadium that houses the basketball games and the volleyball games for the asymptomatic people that are 70 and older to go inside of the stadium to shelter inside. And it was wrong to have seniors out there for those hours in that inclement weather. And so my question is, and I pose this question to say, okay, so when a 22-year-old white guy has it, where did he have it at? The convention center. Was there anybody standing outside? No. Did they have a place to go to the bathroom? Yes. Did they have a place to wash their hands and use their cell phone and stuff like that? Yes. And so when we talk about giving it to black people and you can't get the same quality that was given by another person, your life got to be about quality. It can't be about color. I'm very disturbed. It's just a picture. This picture, I'm standing out there with my great-grandma, because I'm going to stand with her and support her, and we're out there for 10 hours, for 12 hours. And she says she can't control the weather. Well, we know you can't, but you need to be able to control the atmosphere that you put us in since you look like us. And here's another point. Stick a pin in that. Why didn't your whole staff go to the Flyers game with you? Because ain't no fans in the stands. So if they're going to give you a ticket, you take you, your husband, and your 3 kids, and you got a whole staff that's spending all these hours supporting you to help black folks do COVID, why didn't the whole staff go? I mean,
all right. So Prince, hold on 1 second. I know Donna Frisbee Greenwood has a hard stop at 3:15. Can you call me back at 3:20? Let's go in at this. Can we either 3:20 or 3:40? Because I want to talk to you about this.
3:20. I got you. I got 340. I go 340. Let's go 340.
Okay, go 340. Go 340. All right, my brother, because I don't want to cut you off, but I know this woman has a hard stop, and I don't want to miss this great conversation with her. But thank you for bringing up those points. Okay, we'll talk soon. All right. Donna Frisbee Greenwood is the first president and CEO of the Fund for the School District of Philadelphia, a unique foundation that aligns private foundations, corporations and businesses, community organizations, and individual donors with school district leadership to help achieve schools' plans and strategies. She is someone that has been behind the scenes for as long as I can remember, a powerful black woman, but we don't really talk about her because she stays out of the limelight, right? It has supported, the fund has supported the school district with more than $12 million in grants and funding. Before joining the fund in 2015, Donna was the Philadelphia Program Director for the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, overseeing grant making in the arts, journalism, and multiple civic engagement programs that helped expand economic opportunity in the city. That's how I met Donna, when she was at the Knight Foundation and asked me to mentor a couple of people. Donna Frisbee Greenwood, a black woman that I'm highlighting today. Good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon, Andrea. Great to be on your show today. hard to follow Latasha Brown and our friend Susan Taylor. But thankful and humbled to be on the same show with them and with you. And I first want to give condolences to the WURD family and the Cody's family on the passing of Mr. Cody Anderson.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that. We have been talking about Cody all day. Now, you know, when I was listening to Latasha Brown, she reminded me a little bit of you. Can you tell people how you rocked the vote before you started doing the fund and the knife? Because, see, folks don't know. We got to let folks know
That's
what
right.
folks are doing in this city. Tell them about that, please.
Oh, absolutely. So I ran an organization called Rock the Vote from 1995 to 2000. It was the pinnacle of the organization's work. I was the first African-American to lead that organization. Rock the Vote is a national organization and the first organization in the country to take on the task of identifying and saying, hey, young adults aren't voting, and we've got to get those 18 to 29-year-olds to the polls. And we were instrumental in doing that by partnering with MTV and BET and doing public service announcements with artists, with music artists, you know, folks such as Madonna and LL Cool J and all kinds of, you name it, we probably produced a PSA that aired on MTV or BET. And they helped us share the message about the importance of voting with young people, young adults. We were instrumental in increasing the number of young people who went to the polls, the number of African-American young people who went to the polls in 96 and 98, and overall youth turnout in 2000. You know, it was at the time the music industry's largest nonprofit organization. So my roots go, you know, are deep in voter engagement and voter participation. I also helped to found an organization called Black Youth Vote, which is part of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation down in Washington. Some of your older listeners may remember it as Operation Big Vote. But yeah, so I've been doing that work and still do it. Very quietly. Still do a lot of work around organizing and getting people registered to vote in our community. It's near and dear to my heart, political participation. Love what Latasha Brown has done with Black Voters Matter. So 95 to 2000, I ran Rock the Vote. And we were based in L.A. at the time.
Yeah, you were based in L.A. Now, let me tell you why, and this is why I pulled you out. I literally hunted you down because I wanted people to talk, to understand who you were behind the scenes. And the fact of the matter is, even though you're at the Philadelphia Fund, your goal remains the same, young people. You are one of the few people that I know that have consistently mentored, Lord, they're probably all married with children. You just keep picking up more mentees, picking up more mentees. Talk to us about the importance of mentoring to you and why you're over at the Philadelphia Fund and what are the goals over there for what you're doing.
Absolutely. So mentoring, you know, when I started my career as a teacher in the Philadelphia School District. And I taught 7th grade English language arts, and because I had a minor in physics, I then went to teach 9th grade math. One of the things that, you know, I noticed that, you know, probably was the difference between me and some of my students who, you know, came from lower income communities was, you know, I had this network of people that helped me, right, from my parents and aunts and uncles and cousins, right, who were, you know, very successful in their own right, who mentored me and supported me, to other, you know, mentors that I met professionally, like State Senator Vincent Hughes and a woman named Enola Vance, who used to be at the health department, you know, who mentored me. And so I always knew the importance of young people being connected to people who could support them and mentor them and guide them and listen to them and direct them. And so I've been mentoring young people. Some of my mentees are only about 5 years younger than me. And then I have a couple of people who tell me they're, that I mentored them and they're older than me. And, so I always, no matter where I am always trying to make sure that people are learning from me, that I'm supporting them to do the next thing, and give people an opportunity to grow and learn and be their best person. And so it's extremely important in terms of growth of young people. Yes, reading, writing, arithmetic is critical, but our young people also need access to resources and access to people. And if, we're all mentoring a young person, we're giving them that access and we're giving them that support that they need to get to the next level.
Agreed. So talk to us a little bit about the fund. I'm not sure that you're aware, but there's something coming down the pike through the National Cares Mentoring Movement. I can't fully discuss it now, but I was asked as a Southeast Pennsylvania Cares leader to highlight a few organizations that we could give this thing to. It's some stuff that's coming. And so I chose the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium, the Philadelphia Inquirer, someone reached out to me from there, and your group, the fund. Yes. So reach out to your people. Didn't tell you, but your people know what's coming. And we're working on making sure that you get 2,000 pieces of each of these things for your children who may be homeless, and to make sure that they're okay. And we're going to work and make sure that they get more. And so I just want you to know we see you. We see you. We understand what you're trying to accomplish there. And now tell us a little bit about the fund, why you're there, what is the ultimate goal there, and how can people support what you do?
Absolutely. So when I was at Knight Foundation, we were doing a lot of work about how you attract talent to a city, and in particular, how we attract talented people to come and live in Philadelphia. And as part of that work, when I started to take a look at population trends in our city, and we saw that people were, we were getting an increase in population from the age of like 24 to 34 years old, but we were losing population at 35 to 55-ish, and also losing population at 5 years old to 18. And what that said to me is that people are leaving when they have school-age children. And so where do we need to be investing? We need to be investing in education. And Knight doesn't invest in education. And so I said, I've got to do something personally to make a difference and do what I can to invest in education. And ended up at the Fund for the School District of Philadelphia. Since I've been at the fund, I raised over $31 million in 5 years to support our public schools. We've supported everything from early literacy to playground bills and music education. But all of our money goes to support initiatives and work that's happening on a day-to-day basis inside of our public schools. And so it has been a labor of love. I, left my cushy job at the Knight Foundation to come back to raising money, which I hadn't done in a number of years. But I love every minute of it. Our children are worth it. And if you care about Black children, you will support the School District of Philadelphia, because the majority of Black children in our city are a part of that 130,000 kids that go to our public schools. And so, if you are serious about wanting to support and our children, Black children in particular, then you can't ignore public education. And so I've made a commitment to helping by running the fund and raising dollars in support of the district. We also do something annually called Dress Down Day. It's going to be May 21st this year, where we ask people to buy a T-shirt and wear it on that day to say, I dress down and I support Philly Public Schools.
Oh, and how can they, give me that again. It's May what?
It's going to be May 21st this year, and it's our annual Dress Down Day. We do it in conjunction with the Goldenberg Group, and and this will be our third Dress Down Day that we hold. We skipped in 2020, but we're coming back in 2021.
Right.
And you can go to our website, The Fund, S as in Sam, D as in David, P as in Paul.org, thefundSCP.org. You can learn how you can give directly to a public school via our Philly Fundamentals platform. You can give to school initiatives. You can, if you're alumni of one of our Philly public schools, you can also hit the Philly alumni button and go on and register and say, hey, I'm an alumni of Philly Public Schools, and I want to know how I can plug in and I can support our schools. And you can learn about our Dress Down Day. We'll be kicking Dress Down Day off in mid-March, starting the sale of the T-shirts in mid-March.
Okay.
But it's Dress Down for Philly Public Schools.
Dress Down for Philly. So what you just described was something that anybody can participate in, right? If we all buy a T-shirt and wear it for Dress Down Day, that's money's going for the fund. So for people who are asking, what can I do to help the Philadelphia Public Schools, that this is an easy way. If every one of us brought a T-shirt, my Lord up in heaven, how much we would have raised just for the school system. Now, my last question for you is this: you're a Black woman who have quietly, your entire life has just been around young people, mentoring, making sure that you're able to give back to them. What sustains you in this movement? Because I know you see what's going on in the country. I know you see what's happening in the school district of Philadelphia. What keeps your eye on the prize, your eyes on the prize? What sustains you so that you continue to do the work that you're doing?
One, I have a great family who supports me and, who allows me and who makes sure I rest and eat right. And, but two, the thing that keeps me going is that I know the difference that education can make in a person's life. And, if not for education, a couple of generations back, my family, was not well off, right? But for education, our family was moved into the working class and then the middle class, right? And so I know that education, it can be the great equalizer. And we need to, when I go into a school and I talk to a young person and I see how bright our young people are and how talented they are, every day it just sustains me. It keeps me fighting for them. We've got a lot of amazing young people who deserve a quality education and deserve access to the opportunities that are here in Philadelphia for some and need to be available for all.
Wow. Perfect ending. I love it. Donna Frisbee Greenwood, CEO and President of the Fund for the Philadelphia School District. Thank you so much for being a Black woman who has stood in your authenticity, who has been generous and kind, and who has been in the shadows doing massive amounts of work on behalf of so many people. I salute you, my sister, and thank you for being on with us, okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you for having me today on such an amazing day with such amazing women.
Isn't it great? But I thought, Donna, that when I saw Latasha Brown, I was like, oh, this is Donna, but Donna's in the background doing the work. And so what my ultimate goal on this radio station is to pull out the gems, the good stuff that's going on in this city. So we just can always stop fussing about what's wrong, but we can see the people that are highlighting and doing the work, and then we turn and support those people. If everybody buys a T-shirt, Donna, think about it. Think about it.
I'll make sure you have everything you need to share with your audience when we start the sale of the T-shirts.
Please do. Please do. So you have a good afternoon, and if you want someone to come on to talk about that when the time comes, we are happy to book you guys and bring you in. Okay?
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for doing what you do. Keep highlighting the good in our city.
Yes, ma'am. Talk to you soon. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, so Lorraine Ballard-Morrill is on next. I'm going to take a quick break, but before I do, I want to share something with you. This is the power of believing in yourself. You know, Latasha Brown and Susan L. Taylor both said something that I'm hoping resonated with all of you, that we have to take care of each other and look out for one another. I have been an implicit bias trainer for a couple of decades and really loved talking to people, really loved writing. I could write all day, every day. And so for years, my media friends would say, girl, you need to get into radio. You have that thing. You need to get into television. And I'd go, pee, go ahead, go away. And I mean, seasoned radio and television people. I would go to events and I would get on the stage and I would talk about something and they would keep saying, you have that it factor. Now, I could have easily ignored it, but I decided to step into radio through Michelle Lawrence, through Michelle Speaks radio station, and worked on WURD, guest hosting with Chris Norris, or I was a guest on. And they kept pushing me. Denise James, who worked with Channel 6, Cherry Gregg, all of them. This past today, on this day last year, I was in Los Angeles, California, in Pasadena, doing the red carpet for the NAACP Image Awards. Not because it was something that I had done before, not because it was something that I was experienced at, not because I knew anything about anything. All I had was the will, the gumption, and the drive. Kathy Hicks saw that I wanted to do it and gave me the information. She said, I'll get the press passes for you. The rest is up to you. Booked my flight, took mail out, stayed in a hotel. We got out there. Cherry Gregg, Denise James, Lorraine Ballard-Morrow all gave me all the things that I needed, the lights, the microphone tag, all of it. I stepped out on that red carpet like I knew everybody, like I had done it my entire life. And the end result of that was so stunning. You know, I got to interview amazing people. They are black and brown people that look like us. They were beautiful. I mean, beautiful. I was all over Twitter and BET. My youngest son was like, where are you? And why are you being twirled around by the people from the Daily Show with Trevor Noah? How do you know these people? And so I'm going to encourage all of you. I walked away from that experience understanding that if you don't know, the knowing is there, like Susan says. You can learn. You don't let anybody tell you what you can or can't do simply because you haven't done it before. If you have the gumption, if you have the will, if you have the desire. I was standing there and Rihanna, singer Rihanna, walked right into my arms and told me how gorgeous my outfit was. The woman from Greenleaf asked me to design an outfit for her. I designed it. So I'm going to go do a fitting for her. You know, it's all of this from just being open and ready and being loving and kind. That is all I'm asking of you. Stop limiting yourselves. Stop looking and finding ways to complain, but think about how you can make a difference. We are the most resilient. We are the most brave. We're the bravest, and we are the wisest people that I know. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back with Lorraine Ballard-Morrow after these messages.
Are you looking to maximize your credits and deductions this tax season? In the Moment Financial Services, owned and operated by 2 black women, is the one-stop shop you need. They offer tax preparation, credit repair, bookkeeping, and business consulting for clients nationwide. Visit their office located in West Philadelphia or virtually from the comfort of your own home. Book your free consultation at inthemoment101.com or call 610-222-6150 today to receive $50 off your service.
The WURD Radio newsletter, keeping you informed, engaged, and connected. Sign up by visiting WURDradio.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page and type your email address under Connect with Us. You'll receive the latest information on WURD Radio, messages from our president and CEO, Sarah Lomax Reese, exclusive articles and multimedia content, and resources. Stay informed with the WURD Radio newsletter.
Family Therapy Vignette Moments with Dr. Lucille Ijoy. Relationships during this pandemic time, when you are living in a house or apartment with family or friends, or even by yourself, the pandemic will make you ask the question, who in the world are these people living here? You see faces bumping into each other, looking in the refrigerator with them eating snacks. Everywhere you look, there are tired faces, online, working, studying, asking questions, needing help, food shopping. Don't forget the toiletries. Oh, I need another mask. Rush back home. Did the virus get you? Ooh, Wash your hands 20 seconds. Whew, this pandemic ain't no joke. I need some music. Ray Charles, Georgia on my mind. Get Coasa to do that. Tina Turner, Proud Mary, Lord have mercy. Sing, people, sing.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDRadio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you're just joining us, I don't know what to tell you other than to say, go back and play this entire show. We had Commissioner of Police Daniel Outlaw on at 1 o'clock. At 1:30, we did some conversations with the WURD listeners. At 2 o'clock, we had Susan L. Taylor from the National Cares Mentoring Movement on, along with Latasha Brown, who is the co-founder of Black Voters Matter. That conversation is enough to make me lay down and take a nap and say, thank you, Lord, for a good show. Now we added Donna Frisbee Greenwood from the fund, who was talking about being able to raise money for the school district simply by buying a T-shirt for Dress Down Day. She'll be back to talk about that. But I also wanted to highlight her as a woman, a Black woman who has done amazing things in the community and has been a mentor to untold numbers that you probably wouldn't even know that you talk to every single day. And now, right now, I have on the line with me Lorraine Ballard-Morrill, who is currently News Director and Community Affairs Director for iHeartMedia's 6 Philadelphia stations. They are Power 99 FM, WDAS FM, Radio 104.5, Real 106.1, Smooth Jazz, and Q102 FM. Morrill hosts and produces Insight, airing on WDAS FM, Smooth Jazz 1480 AM, and Power 99 FM, and also What's Going On, which airs on Q102, Radio 104.5, and Real 106.1. Under her leadership, Power 99 was the first station to receive 6 National Association of Broadcasters Crystal Service Awards and the first to receive its inaugural Crystal Heritage Award, among the highest awards a radio station can receive for community service. Lorraine is on, she's a sister that rocks, right? Lorraine and I became friends through a group called Damsels in Success some years ago in 2010, and we have been around the world and back. We have been able to talk about the things that matter in media, the things that matter in our communities, and we have had some searingly honest conversations. This past Friday, February 19th, we were both out at the Leah Cora Center for 2 reasons. I was there to get my second Moderna vaccine shot, and she was there to get her first. I convinced her to come out because it was, first come, first serve, and she was in the zip codes, and so we were all out there. And so Lorraine and I are going to talk a little bit about what transpired there, our immune responses to the vaccine thus far, and what we could do to change some things that happened on Friday. Good afternoon,
Hello,
sister.
my friend. How are you? Are you feeling better? I understand you had a few side effects over the weekend.
Ooh, child, let me tell you, 30 hours in, I felt like Tigger the Bunny. I'll talk to you Saturday morning, right? And I'm like, a wonderful thing about Tiggers. The Tigger's a wonderful thing. And I'm just bouncing. Lorraine, around 5 o'clock, my body said, sit down. And Tigger dropped its tail, and I was knocked out. I said to my husband, I don't know if I'm going to make it.
Well, listen, I know you're feeling better, which is great.
I am.
And, everyone has an individual response to the vaccine. Yes. And I hear from many people that it's the second dose that does sometimes have more of a side effect. As for me, I just had on-site pain a little bit in the injection site, and I was pretty tired. I took a couple of big long naps over the weekend, but other than that, did pretty well. But boy, Friday, that was an epic experience I'll never forget. 13 hours from beginning to end until I got my vaccination. It was an incredible experience. Even though it was such a long wait, I have to say, I feel that I feel very grateful for the experience. I met some fantastic people online. We bonded, and I have to give major props to Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium for the heroic work that they endeavored in vaccinating 4,000 people.
Yes, I agree. Now, of course, it's Monday, and everybody is Monday morning quarterbacking, right? And so I hear that one of the city council people, Alan Dom, was on WURD this morning talking about the fact that the city should have done this and the city should have done that. And of course, Dr. Ayla, being who she is, remained consistent in making sure, because I was there, I saw her come out, you know, they made sure that the people who were elderly got them inside so that they could stay warm. There were people giving out snacks. I mean, there was music. I'd never seen people stand that diggity dang long in a line without fighting one another, right? And so what are the things that you noticed there, and what do you think the city can do to create a change so that this never has to happen again? Because it depends on where they put her, right?
Sorry, what was the last thing you said?
So that depends on what building she's given access to, because they were talking about the fact that she didn't get the convention center where people could have come inside and used the bathroom and have facilities. But that's not Dr. Ayla's fault, right? She used what she had. So where do you think things fell apart and for us on the outside? And what do you think the city can do to help her moving forward?
Well, I think that the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium is probably in the best position to provide quality care as far as the vaccination. I think, from my perspective, the major problem was that they simply didn't have enough personnel in order to handle the tremendous number of people and the tremendous amount of desire that people had to be vaccinated. They did an amazing job with whatever they had, but the city should really invest in the Black doctors and give them all the resources and all the money that they need to adequately staff, because as you and I both observed, there had been this narrative that Black folks don't want to get vaccinated. Yeah. And what we saw on the weekend was that 95% of the people that were in line were Black folks, or Latinos, people of color. And so I think that what is very important is that I loved the way that she handled it, the first come, first serve, because that gave people the opportunity that don't necessarily have access to the internet, that don't necessarily feel comfortable interacting in that way, the opportunity to get the vaccination. The only downside was the tremendous wait and the fact that it was snowing. And yes. I think the city also missed a great opportunity. They could have been out there providing blankets, hot chocolate, all, you know, little comforts for people who really had to stand in line for so long. So I think really it's an opportunity for the city to really look at the amazing work that the Black doctors do and give them the resources they need in order to handle the tremendous number of people that want to get vaccinated.
You know what I'm thinking, Lorraine? Because after talking to Latasha Brown and Susan L. Taylor, I am fired up and ready to go, right? So we can't, clearly the city, let's see what they do for the next one. But if they decide they're not stepping up, what I am thinking about are organizations that could donate fresh blankets, and have them waiting for people if need be, that we let the people know to bring a chair with them. And we had people, just regular community members who went home and brought back boxes of snacks. People stepped into the gap where the Black doctors COVID, because they were busy immunizing people, giving them the vaccines. I'm just thinking of creative ways that we can do this, because what I don't want to happen, see, when people step up to do the work, when Black and brown people specifically step up to do the work, there are always those who are figuring out, we're going to teach them a lesson and let them know they're not as good as they think they are, and we're going to find ways for people to complain and drag them down. We're not letting this happen on our watch. I am the first one to tell you. I'm going to keep saying it. And so if we've got to support them in any ways that we can. So if anybody listening under the sound of my voice have an idea how to support the Black Doctors Consortium with snacks, boxes of unopened snacks, please, water, blankets, and don't inundate them. Bring it to the site where they are doing the vaccinations, because people are there. I want to tell you, Lorraine, the young woman, there was a young woman in the line standing next to Lorraine who said that she had to be home by sundown. I assumed, because of my friends who are of Jewish descent, that she was Jewish. I asked her if she was. She said yes. So what else was I doing but bouncing back and forth? So I walked up to the front and I asked them, is it possible for them to get her in? They said no, because we're doing the elderly people first and it's taking a little while longer. I did not know the basketball team had taken up where they were trying to use. That's a whole other story. We'll talk about that. And I told her, I came back and gave her the information that they gave me to her to show up today at
Deliverance.
Deliverance. She got her shot. She got her vaccine.
Oh, did she really? Yay.
She sent me a text and she said, thank you so much. And she thought I worked with the Black Doctors COVID. I'm like, nope, just a regular community member who saw that you had a need. And so that's what I'm talking about. Philadelphians showed up on Friday.
They did. I was so inspired by the ways that people were supporting each other. We were just having a good time, sharing stories, getting to know each other. One of the people in the line near me bought insomnia cookies, fresh chocolate chip cookies, and for everybody that were in our little cohort that standing in line. People were just kind, and I didn't see really any. If there are people who jumped the line, I didn't see them, and if there are any people that were complaining, I didn't hear them. And when we were inside the convention, or rather the Liacouras Center, when they actually came down to vaccinate us, we applauded. We gave them a standing ovation because we were so appreciative and so grateful for the good work that they did. And, you know, people were so patient because, you know, at that point, after 13 hours, some people were getting a little bit cranky, but no one ever lost their temper. No one ever was snappy with one another. They were just awesome. And I think we were awesome. As a city, we came together in a way that made me proud.
Yes. So the other thing that I'm thinking about, anyone who has porta potties, that may be useful for the next setup. If they're putting her in buildings where people can't come into the bathrooms until they get inside, that porta potties outside would be helpful, you know, for those folks. Someone asked me here, do you really, were you relieved when you got your vaccination?
I was happy. I don't know about relief, if that was the emotion I felt. I was just very happy and grateful. And, you know, the thing about it, though, is that I'm thinking about all the many thousands and thousands of people who haven't gotten their vaccinations for a variety of different reasons. There are a lot of people who aren't in that category that the health department is listed as those who have priority. And I think about all of those retail workers, the people who work at the Acmes and all of the different retail outlets that face the possibility of exposure every single day. They were in that line because the Black Doctors COVID Consortium said, come on down. You deserve to get vaccinated. And I give such gratitude to the Black doctors because these are people who need to. They were young. They, under every other circumstance, the way that the city has outlined it, they didn't qualify, but they did get their shot at that mass vaccination event, and they should have. But there's so many people. You know, I have a couple of questions for the city. For instance, you sign up for the vaccination, information form, and you don't get a bounce back. You don't get an email back to let you know what your status is. When I registered online with the Black Doctors, I immediately got a response back just to let me know that they got my request, right? But the city, for whatever reason, doesn't do that, and I think that's a problem. Because as far as you know, it's going into the black hole of bureaucracy. You have no idea where you stand. And, so there's a lot. There's a lot. There's so much. You know what's so funny? And it's not funny, but, you know, I'm reading here something that Diane Fassett wrote. She said, 30 other cities opened up their sports arenas. Why not in Philly? They had no choice because the city failed their people. They made people suffer. You are all happy, but that's not what 70-year-old and elderly people were feeling. Keep it real. Oh, we're keeping it real, Ms. Fassett. We're talking about the fact that we saw what was going on out there, but people were not complaining. I walked 4 city blocks. I kept asking people, what do they need? And I don't work for the Black Doctors COVID, but I don't want to see people suffering. One man was diabetic. We stopped to make sure he had something, and we just kept making sure that whatever groups people were in those long lines, wrapping 4 city blocks, that they were okay. I agree with you, Ms. Fassett, that the city could have opened up a bigger space for folks. This is not Dr. Ayla's fault. She's using what she's able to get. And so instead of fussing and complaining about what she got, she utilized what she had to help as many people as she possibly can. So what I'm going to suggest to all of you is you reach out to the city.
reach out and keep reaching out and keep reaching out and ask them why in the Sam Hill did so many people have to stand up out there that long when we could have had people in the concourse, right?
Yeah.
The center, the Leocore Center has a long behind concourse that's wrapped a couple of blocks. We could have put the people in the concourse. What happened there? So before we point fingers at the person who was actually trying to help us, doing the best that they can, and you can also volunteer with the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium, right? And so when we think about these things, let's look at the solutions, right? And how we can support and help each other. That's where I am with that. What do you have to say?
I totally agree. I think that what they've been doing so far in general, overall, between making sure that people of color get the testing that is needed and that it's accessible, that people don't necessarily have to drive, they can walk up and, and they can go into their neighborhoods. The fact that she opened up the vaccinations to very important zip codes where there's a high incidence of people dying from COVID-19. I mean, I thought that was brilliant to open that up to those zip codes. They're doing an amazing job, as you say, with what they have. I think that we need to make them the primary and give them every resource possible to, they know how to do it. They just need more resources in order to handle the tremendous need and desire that people have to get vaccinated. The desire is crazy. I've gotten emails and comments from people in surrounding counties. Someone from Upper Darby said, I'm Black. I feel comfortable with the Black Doctors Consortium, but I'm in Upper Darby. I have a friend in Delaware County who wanted to know, how do I get vaccinated? They're not getting back to me in Delaware County. So, these folks know what they're doing, and they're doing an amazing job. So we should be applauding them and doing everything that we can to support them in doing the great job that they're doing so far with what they have.
Yeah, we have to go, but Denise James wrote this. What about the marathoner's blanket? I'm wondering if the city had some left from the Broad Street run that did not happen. You see how easy it is to come up with a solution? And they had those blankets for the marathon runners. Do they have any of those sitting in city storage that they could use for people who are going to stand up outside? We've got the solutions, but we're going to figure this out, because the ultimate goal, and you're right, Lorraine, is that more and more people trust the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium. That is who they want to give them the vaccines. And I am very aware that the city had to come back and give Dr. Ayla more, because she only had 2,500 and she asked for more and got more, right? So they're giving her the vaccines. We just really need to get more of a structure in place around the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium to help them move this along farther. Thank you so much, my sister. It's always a pleasure. How are you feeling? You still only have the injection site soreness?
I feel fine, and I'm once again grateful, and thank you for convincing me to go down, because I was a little bit on the fence on that, and I'm so glad. Even though it was a long wait, it was worth it, and the experience was priceless. I met some great people there, and thank you for offering to buy me lunch. Even
1,000 times I offered to buy you lunch.
I should have said yes. But anyway, thank you so much for being my friend and being my support. I appreciate you so much.
Oh, you are so welcome. Lorraine Ballard-Morrill, who is the News Director and Community Affairs Director for iHeartMedia's 6 Philadelphia station. Thank you, my sister. Have a good one, okay?
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Hello, entrepreneurs, especially if you're in the food delivery space. CBD is one of the fastest growing health and wellness categories out today. And as it is now legal, you can expand your customer base and increase revenues per ticket by using this as a specialty food offering. CBDmealsdelivered.com is now for sale and would be a perfect website to integrate with your existing food delivery website. Thank you.
I went to check on Pop today. We put our hands up to the glass as if we were touching. But really, the only touching part was that we both tried to smile.
That's no way to say hello or goodbye. COVID-19 vaccines are here, but until enough of us are vaccinated, we'll all still need to help slow the spread. Keep a 6-foot distance, wear a mask, and avoid indoor social gatherings. Learn more about vaccines and slowing the spread at cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Toyota proudly presents In Their Own Words. Although small in physical stature, Ida B. Wells was a giant in America's civil rights movement. As one of the founders of the NAACP, with a lifetime combating prejudice, violence, and ever fighting for African American equality, she was a media mogul and arguably became the most famous black woman in America of her time, communicating with hundreds of thousands of African Americans in her weekly newspapers.
The people must know before they can act, and there is no educator to compare with the press. I had an instinctive feeling that people who have little or no school training should have something coming into their homes weekly which dealt with their problems in a simple, helpful way. So I wrote in plain, common sense, weigh on the things that concerned our people.
Toyota is pleased to feature African American icons expressing themselves in their own words. Toyota, let's go places.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. In my quest to continue to be transparent with all of you, I said that when I had the vaccines, both the first and the second shot, that I would be transparent. So when 30 hours happened and I was laid out, and it was just, for me, there were no headaches, there was no fever, but I was so achy, I felt like all my teeth were going to fall out, right? And so I posted on social media that I was aching and I didn't feel well, no headache, but, you know, my husband had the chills. By the time I posted that, by yesterday morning, people started texting me. There's saltines at your door. There's Pedialyte at your door. There's soup at your door. There's chicken at your door. There's pizza at your door. There's fish at your door. There's water at your door. I could not believe the amount of love. My husband was like, well, jiggity dang, what happened? You know, so I just want to say thank you to all of you, whether you're listening or not. This is what we talk about when we say community. We didn't need anything. I asked one person to bring me saltines and some Pedialyte. That was it, because the Pedialyte, the vaccine itself, once you get the second one, you feel like a dehydrated piece of beef jerky. So what I'm going to suggest to a lot of people is hydrate yourself with Pedialyte or Gatorade. Gatorade has too much sugar in it. So I did Pedialyte and I did my essential water, and that's what brought me back to life. And that lasted, I would say, from 5 o'clock Saturday evening until about 5 o'clock Sunday evening. So for about 12 hours, I was, you know, I feel good now, honey. Lord, let the adventures begin. Mova is going to be out on the road, you know, masking and social distancing and, you know, meeting all the new people. I met a new media person, a media reporter, new reporter from CBS 3, Alicia Reed. Oh, we're going to go hang out with her, make sure she's okay and that she gets a good Philly welcome. But now I feel like, you know, they say 7 to 8 days after you get the second vaccine, you're 95% immunized from this COVID-19, the first strain. So I'm just doing what's good for me. And then I need to go see about my parents who have not been able to get the vaccine. So there's a method to all of what's going on here. And we want to make sure that we're able to get as many people as possible. Dr. Ayla says that if you signed up, if you're one of the 46,000 people that signed up, they're going through the list. The people who have their addresses and whatever, they're going to get emails. And there was a long line of people who had gotten emails from them, and the emails will continue. But as of March 1st, wherever they open up, and even right now, because they did it on Friday, if you show up and you live in the city, you will get your vaccine. You know, we saw city workers, we saw all kinds. It was just amazing. She was wonderful. So it wasn't perfect. There were people who, you know, waited forever. Lorraine Ballard Morrow, who could have easily jumped a line and said, I'm Lorraine Ballard Morrow, stood in line for 13 hours, made all kinds of friends, and learned about the process. And I agree with her. The city could have stepped in and done a little bit better to support what was going on there. Prince, thank you for calling back, sir. What's up?
Hey, so just so I can explain this to you, when I give you a contract from the city, then as a third-party vendor, I resolve myself, or I separate myself from all of the liabilities that come with the contract, because you have to have the insurance in order to handle the contract, the bonding and the insurance. And so it's not comfortable under no circumstance in 21-degree weather for seniors to be out there like that. It's not, they wasn't in a township like that. And this is a nonprofit city. So you make arrangements with the housing authority. You make arrangements with Temple. You don't, like, you can't tell me the next day that somebody should have opened the Lear Core Center. She got paid $1.5 million. That's important to know that, because then you have to use financial resources in which to do a better job for us. Don't give us, like they was giving shots today at Deliverance, and the line was around the corner, and you had 3 different inclement weathers a day. You had snow, you had sleet, and you had rain. That's all that are our people in that neighborhood. You mean that church couldn't open up the church in order for folks to go in there? All I'm saying is that we need to treat us better by us. And another thing, and I know one of the things I talked about last week that was important, and I know how you move fast on that computer. If you pull Sorrell Parker's bio up, if you can while I'm talking, the bio
I'm doing it right now.
The bio says, let's go to the educational part. The bio says Lincoln University, English. And then it says an MF, which I'm assuming it's a master's in social work. It doesn't say that anywhere that she has the skill to manage a $300 million budget. It doesn't say that she has architectural engineering skills on bridges and design. It doesn't say anywhere that she has an accounting background, and yet you put her chair of the Delaware River Port Authority, where clearly she's been convicted of drunk driving. They lock people up who have driving without a license, driving with suspended license, driving drunk. They incarcerate people, and so if it's not ethically unfair to us, it is definitely ethically unfair to have someone on that board that's, number one, educationally not qualified, hadn't been vetted to chair the board, not on the board. She's chairing this board, and this is the problem that we have with political people putting political people in position. Brian Boyer wasn't qualified to chair that board, and obviously he got off because the rubber meets the road. Come on, Andrea, you're qualified more than most people. I'm probably qualified more than most people. And nobody giving us $160,000 to do what we are qualified to do. We kill what we eat when we kill. So we go hunting every day. You know, and this is just some of the things that when you go out and elect an official, you need to know who you are putting in office. Not because it's only 18% of the people voting out of 1.5 million people. That means there's enough chips on the table to get these people out of office, Andrea. And I got one more, and one more point. See, the councilman, Curtis Jones, in 2008, when he got in office.
Oh, wait, stop a minute. We reached out to him. We reached out to Councilman Jones. I'm holding on, waiting for him to get back to us, though, because I just wanted to be known we reached out to him.
No, this is not about him and public safety. This is about a constituent inside of his district who has a daughter who is special needs, and she's highly functional. And she worked at McDonald's when it was in Children's Hospital for 20 years, and they closed it down. And so from 2008 to today, you can say to today, this councilman has not reached back out to this mother in order to place this highly functional, special needs young lady in over 6 or 7 McDonald's that he has in the district. You couldn't, when you talk about you should have gave that young boy a job before he got shot in the street, you got a special needs young lady in your community as a constituent that you could have got a job for at the new Lowe's McDonald's. And so we have to be really careful of these politicians that's getting in office for themselves. Now, yeah, his family members work in the city, but we're talking about McDonald's here. And we're talking about the kind of care that you share for your listening audience is the kind of care and compassion these politicians have to give us. There's just no reason why we can't get that out of them. Now, don't you think that Ms. Sorrell Parker, while she was lobbying to get on that board, should have been doing more in the 9th District, because the day after she got appointed was the next day they shooting up the board County? It goes to show you where people's priority are. And I ain't going to have many people that's going to get on this station and come at these folks and stuff like that because they revere them for whatever reason. But yet your city is falling apart in the midst. In the midst, your city is falling apart. You know, people are scared to go outside. People are carrying that normally wouldn't carry guns no more. And if you are carrying a gun and you never shot it before, there's a good chance. And then they tell you that when when you shoot a gun, be prepared to go to jail. Because if that bullet hits anybody else or go anywhere other than the person you're shooting, you're going to jail.
Yeah.
And I'm just,
so,
we
Prince,
need that kind of support. Sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. Look, we have a lot of stuff going on. I've got a minute and I have to get off the air. So I'm going to ask you all to call me back tomorrow to address some of these things that we talked about today. And I want people to call me tomorrow to talk about Cody Anderson. And I want you to call me tomorrow to talk about these phenomenal guests we had today. They were phenomenal. There was just so much going on there. They were.
You did a good job today. You did an excellent job with the guests. And I don't always want to be the bearer of bad news, but I get tired of us going out giving people our vote, and they turn around and giving us
I hear you, and I am not dismissing you, so you already know.
Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir. Have a good one. All right. So listen, coming up next is Nick Taliaferro with Evening Words. Someone just called about their students. Sir, you have my word that I will reach out to Brianna, my content producer, and she will reach out to you about your students being on the air. Before I get off, though, let me just say this to all of you. What are you doing? What small part are you playing to make sure that the efficacy of our people shifts and change? Look, there are things, nothing is ever going to be 100% right? But we have to figure out how we're going to work together for the benefit of most of us, if not all of us. The time is now, Black people. The time is now. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders. I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye.